We are rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. I'm Neil Hoover and this is
Daniel Story.
And today we have Matthew Moore on with us. He's a filmmaker here are you in Greensboro? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Greensboro. It's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah,
Hey.
good
for
to have
having
you on, man. Just tell everyone a little about yourself and we'll go from there.
Okay. I'm 51. I skate. I've made a lot of film. Not doing a whole lot right now, doing music videos. Mostly I'm a gaffer and director of photography. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Now, I checked out your Instagram page and saw the skateboarding videos. That's amazing, man. At 51, skateboarding and really skateboarding, like he's good.
I'm all right. I mean, I can't, Tony Hawk was just busting, 720 at 52, and I can't do that kind of stuff anymore. My knees are kind of sketchy, but I've gone through a series of injuries or whatever, but
Sure.
Started riding the bike, did karate. Actually, the first time I got injured I was 38, and I didn't think I'd skate again. And then I went to Vic Coffin Dojo right down here, and he got me back in shape and
Nice.
fixed my knees.
I actually know some guys that studied under him.
Yeah,
back in the day.
he actually taught me a lot. He's pretty rough.
He's a brutal guy.
Guy, but he will smack your ass into shape, and he definitely did that with me. I miss him. But yeah, he bought me my knees back, and then I got like a good 12 years out of that, and I got injured here last year. Started riding the bike and put my knees back together again, so I can still ride.
How did you injure yourself?
Time, just
wear.
Yeah, just wear and tear
Okay.
on my knees, and if you don't take care of them, or if you don't do a discipline about them, they're gonna go.
Yeah.
And even if you do take care of them, they'll go.
Well, dude, if you made it to 51 skateboarding, you have good genetics.
I hope I can keep going. There's things I wish I could still do that I have to back off of.
Right, yeah. I used to be big into skateboarding when I was a teenager up until about 20 years old. And I remember getting back on a skateboard at maybe 28, 30-ish.
It's hard to leave.
I weighed
and
like
get
100
back on.
pounds more,
Yeah.
almost. But yeah, it was very different. I was like, this is not the same body.
Yeah.
Well, I pretty much had the same shape.
Right, yeah.
But this last time I got injured, I was like, okay, one of the easiest things to do would be to drop 10 pounds. Just take a bowling ball off your body.
Yeah, right.
And been doing that, and it helps.
Sure.
And
yeah.
then just riding the bike builds up the muscles around the outside, and it's keeping me on the board, which is most important, because after 30, 35 years, it's not just a thing I do, it's a part of me.
Right, yeah.
And I can't let it go.
You should look into stem cell injections for your joints
That would be cool. I tried,
or PRP.
I do fish oil, I roll, and do foam roller, and then I tried Terramin, I think is what it is.
Turmeric?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm that guy that turmeric doesn't work for. It did some weird things. But there's options. And
Yeah.
if you stick to it and do a discipline about it, that's fine. But especially at this point, if you let it go, like I get panicky. Like it's been raining and I haven't been able to skate since last week. If I go 2 weeks, I start losing stuff. Just because your body, your body
Well, your body's
gets
always
rigid when you get old.
Yeah. Well,
You can't take slams like before.
The Earth's always trying to consume you.
Oh yeah, and concrete doesn't give.
Right.
It does. It's like, no, you're gonna suck it.
Yeah. Concrete hurt really bad at 17. I can't imagine how it would feel now.
It used to, like, I was little in high school, and I used to get messed with a whole lot, and then I started skating, so I went from, the guy that got picked on to the guy's like, what are you gonna do to me? I threw myself down 10 steps last night. That's why this arm is like this, and there's, what can you do to me? And skateboarding did. It toughened me up, and it was always like, some say like skateboarding is an avenue to all these horrible things. No, it actually kept me away from most of it.
Yeah, it's just a really tough
because I'd
sport.
rather skate.
Yeah,
And
right.
it is. It's like one of the hardest sports ever. And and when everybody's like, oh yeah, killer, you skate, bro. Yeah, I longboard. Neat. Like this is a discipline. Like it, and then anybody who gets, like, I follow skateboarding on Facebook, and people are like, I've just been skating for a year and I can't do this. I'm getting discouraged. It's like, you're like part of the elite if you do it, mentally, physically.
Yeah.
Not like you're better than anybody, but if you carry that discipline that far, then like you're a special thing, and defeat is part of it. Fighting your fear, looking at this, like, God, I remember the first time I did like a 6-step handrail. Like, you're just like, and taken my share of slams, and it's all mental, you against yourself, against nature.
Yeah.
And when you pull it off, it's like, you know, some are like, oh, it's an art form, skating is an art. No, man. It's like, I mean, you know, it's like touchdown at the Super Bowl. You're just like, yes, yes, you know. And it's like an achievement. And even though it was only a tenth of a second on a rail with something your parents would tell you never to do, and then you conquered it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the way skating is. And as you get older, you conquer less and less, and you're just like, oh, yes.
It's definitely adrenaline fueled.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. And it's interesting today. The tricks people can do today are just mind blowing. Because you know, back when I was a kid, and when you were a kid, you know, there was no internet. So
no,
it was all
magazines. You were watching videos
and
and magazines,
you know,
and you play the video till the tape broke.
Right. Yeah. And today, kids can learn new tricks so much easier because they can say, "Oh, I did this," and they can videotape it themselves, and go back and watch it.
Oh yeah, we're like
time.
Post it up like, what am I doing wrong on this
Yeah,
ollie?
yeah.
And I love it. It's like try rolling, you know, or ollie down a curb or something like that.
But I think that's why there's so many really good skateboarders today as opposed to back then, because like there were very few people that could do some of these really elite tricks.
And
now,
it's very accepted now. Back then it was you were a Satan worshiper.
And now when people, I mean, some of the tricks the guys do today, though, you can't even tell what they are. They do it so fast. There's so many things happening with the board. It's like you have to watch it in slow motion to actually see what they did.
Yeah, and there's some of it I just don't understand, and I've been skating for a really long time.
Right.
And I'm mind boggled. But then I just go watch, you know, guys in their late 40s and early 50s skate, and then suddenly I feel better about myself.
This makes sense, right?
And also remind the kids at the park, they call me vintage, but I remind them, I'm like, you know, you gonna be me one day, dog.
Not likely. Most guys won't make it that far on skateboarding.
Some of the passionate will, yeah,
well,
maybe, hopefully.
If their bodies holds up, you know, like a.
Yeah. Well, all the core guys
I'm 40,
I started
wouldn't
with,
skateboard right now. So.
The core guys I started with, 3 of the 4 of them are still skating.
Wow, that's incredible.
Not all the time, and you know, taking it easy, but they're still riding.
Awesome. So let's talk about your filmmaking. What got you into filmmaking?
Whoa.
Or what inspired you to go into it?
Probably Godzilla movies, late Saturday nights when I was, you know, itty bitty. Planet of the Apes. Definitely like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Tom and Jerry, and Tex Avery type stuff. That lunacy for whatever appealed to me. And then I guess when I was about 10, I got HBO in my room. So I saw all of the late 70s,
cool
early
parents.
80s classics. Well, it was a black and white TV with a knob, if that. But I learned how to split the cable and cheat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
Wow, you're a genius for 10 years old. Well, I heard it on the bus. But, you know, I don't know how many times I saw Time Bandits or Dune or Elephant Man or Escape from New York or Excalibur. Did I say Excalibur? Well, whatever the hell. Caddyshack. All of those 9 to 5, holy cats. All the ones that you'd seen a billion times on HBO. For whatever reason, I would get transfixed. And I didn't know that I was a filmmaker. I just knew that, and I had an arrogance about it then. Like, I know what's supposed to go here.
Yeah.
And then I didn't give it, when I was 16, I started skating, and I didn't give a damn about anything else. Maybe creative writing, but nothing else. And when it came time to go to college, the day before registration, you know, my mom's like, you gotta pick a major. And I'm just like, okay, fine. And we went through the book, just going down. And we got to radio, television, film. I was like, that's it. And my mom's like, are you sure? I'm like, yep. She goes, well, there's still, you know, from R to Z. I was like, no, we're good. And then when I went in there, and I got an AS in television production, but mostly enjoyed the filmmaking part of it. And it didn't really do much for me. Yeah. You know, I worked at a few television stations and hated it because you know, you get to be creative once in a while, but the pay, you know, if any of it, where's everybody at? Yeah, if you're thinking about going into television, go into filmmaking. Or if you want to make some money, go somewhere else. I don't know. But I didn't enjoy the television part of it. But, you know, I kept feeding little bites of filmmaking. And then 94, I got an AS in film production from Piedmont. Well, I started on my AS in film production from Piedmont Community College. And that's when I just started making film like a savage. And for, God, like 15, 16 years, 17, 18, 19, 20 years, just nonstop, just boom, 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 boom. And, yeah. I mean, when I was 30, I was like, because I moved around all over the place. I'd lived like, from the time I was 17 to 30, I'd lived like 18 different places.
Where are you originally from?
Originally from Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, and then my parents got divorced. My mom got remarried. We moved to Mississippi.
Okay.
So I lived in Mississippi from like 77 to 94.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the accent comes from, I guess.
Important chunk of your life, yeah.
It is. Mississippi's weird. It's fun to go back. It's hotter than hell. The bugs are, bugs evolve faster there because they're around for the whole year. So
Right.
like cockroaches smoke cigarettes and talk about your mom and, hang out in the garage. And you're just like, damn. You got to take them out with a pistol. Mosquitoes are like 4 feet, suck you pretty much dry if you don't fight for your life. It's the South, baby.
So how'd you go from there to North Carolina?
I was working at a TV station, and I wanted to get into film because I'd had it, and I wanted to go to School of the Arts.
Good school.
And it is. I actually got to adjunct teach there for a little while. It's a pretty neat place. But a friend of mine lived up here, and it was either L.A. or North Carolina. And at the time, North Carolina was like number 3. And I was like, no, I've never been to L.A., but it doesn't look fun. I've been there since. Have fun there. Just
Yes,
there's some spots.
Yeah.
You don't go. But a buddy of mine let me move up here and stay in their house till I got situated, and was working for a TV station, and then I couldn't muster the funds. I became state, local, or whatever, but I couldn't muster the funds to get into School of the Arts, and heard about the Piedmont Community College program, and went up there and started there, and just sort of, it was locked.
Yeah.
But that's why I stayed. That's why, because after that, moved into the filmmaking bracket and worked on a lot of features and stuff, and then things dried up. But
Yeah.
that's how it worked.
It's coming back now, though. Yeah. Are you talking about the state overall? Or,
The state overall, yeah,
not COVID, just when they messed up the incentives.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be small stuff up here, but it won't be like it was because they don't have the incentives, and everybody else had better incentives, so they pulled it away.
Well, they brought the incentives back, but Screen Gems is doing some stuff in Wilmington.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like it was because
No.
Atlanta took all the business. And
Well,
it's a very similar region, so.
I don't know how to say this politely, but a lot of people think, if you build bridges and build fences, but you screw one goat, you're the goat screwer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sort of have that feeling about North Carolina, like, well, we could come back, but
It's not reliable.
you screwed a goat.
Yeah.
But what happened with the HB2 and the incentives and all that kind of stuff is it just left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah.
Because like when the HB2 stuff went down, Lionsgate pulled out in a day, and tons of people lost their jobs. And I knew several people that got affected by both of those giant waves of that crashed across North Carolina.
Yeah.
And most all of them are gone. They're in Atlanta.
Yeah. And Atlanta's they're the number one film shooting place in the country.
Oh
now,
yeah,
so.
dude, they're cranking out
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, I wish I could live there, but I hate driving in Atlanta. I hate it.
Yeah.
There's like,
Ditto. I can't
There's-
stand Atlanta. I lived there for a half a year. It sucked.
I mean, all these rad people are there, but I can't bring myself. Like, Reich, Justin Reich moved down there. He didn't tell me.
Down there, yeah.
Tony's down there, but like Reich, I was like, you're not gonna move to Atlanta, are you, dude? Tell me not. He's like, nah. Well, and then he meets Amber and things happen in his life, and it was a time for a change, and so he just moves over Christmas and doesn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And can I cuss?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Can I lightly cuss? Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to him on the phone, and he's lining up music videos because I'm his gaffer or sometimes his DP on his music
Yeah.
videos. And he's like, yeah, I'm setting a bunch of stuff up in Atlanta. I was like, you son of a bitch. You moved to Atlanta, didn't you? He goes, yeah, I didn't want to tell you. I was like, because I mean, basically, like all the people that I do that sort of stuff with, they're mostly gone except for Brett. And so like Brett and I are the only two left up here from our posse, and like Jesse and those guys, but they're like a different posse.
Is that Brett Mullen or?
Yeah, Brett Mullen.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like Mr. Buterin or Jesse or whatever, they have their little pocket and we have our little pocket, and sometimes we intersect
Yeah, yeah.
or trade cards or gear or what have you, or go be on their sets or whatever. But yeah, I'm bummed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Atlanta's a pretty easy transition for a lot of people because it's very similar and it's actually really affordable. Atlanta's
Oh yeah, I mean,
pricing down there is pretty reasonable.
it's just
The
that
cost of living.
you can't get into Kroger. You have to wait for a place to park to
Yeah,
get
I
into
would-
Kroger. Getting food, anything
Yeah.
normal amenities here that you just handle.
Right.
There, it's just.
Yeah, if I moved down there, I'd have to live outside of.
Oh God, no!
Yeah.
I would live outside of the film area somewhere
Right.
that I'd never have to go into the city.
Yeah.
It's so overpopulated and everyone's so tense,
Yeah.
and people drive like all crazy hell. And
It's a crazy city to drive in for sure.
I'm a country mouse, man. Like crazy. Great, this is the best example. So just got back from there, and I was working with Reich, and he works with Zach Wild and Black Label Society, and we were down there and we were shooting 3 of their videos for their box set release, and an infomercial for the box set release, which is probably the funnest part of it. But these guys are old rockers. They've seen everything. Super cool. There's a lot of stereotypes of what rockers are. They're just kind, gentle people that look like Vikings. But we're down there, and Reich's like, listen, I need a driver. I know that you've done some driving, and you're the oldest guy. I'm always the oldest guy. You'd be the driver. I'm like, you're asking me to drive in Atlanta. But I love Justin. Not so much anymore because he made me drive in Atlanta. But no, I love the man. But I did the driving, and I mean, I was just tense the entire time because you've got precious cargo.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's just me, but precious cargo. And when I went through there with a boy, my foster kid, and we went through Atlanta, and I was telling him the horrors of Atlanta, and he's like pointing out people that are driving badly in Atlanta. I was like, dude, you're going to do that all day long. But he entertained us as we drove through Atlanta. Yeah, I can't think of. I mean, when we were doing Mack Truck, we were rigging like black arms on speed rail on the back of a Suburban with a semi behind us, in traffic, and that was hectic. I'd
Yeah.
rather do that than just drive in Atlanta. We'll talk about some other city.
So what's your favorite genre?
I love action adventure. I love sci-fi, horror, but even like the macabre and the mysterious. And,
Yeah.
I just love bending reality, and all of the films that we did with Ross, or all the things we did back in the day. Some sort of bending reality. It's never. I've done a few docs, which I didn't think I'd enjoy docs, but I actually really enjoyed doing those. And then done a little bit of television, but for the most part, like the action adventure, horror, sci-fi. Let's find a way to blow something up and use our entire budget on special effects type deal.
What's your most recent film?
The most recent thing I've done is I directed the pilot for the Fast Society, which should be coming out soon. But that's sort of like reality based.
Okay.
The last film, I did a web series called Hellions Rise, but it was just really, really weird, and not a whole lot of people got into it. I enjoyed making it, but I guess pretty much after that, I did the Pan Rock's Rush documentary with Tracy Thornton, and he had collected a group of 35 Pan players from across the United States, and did 3 Rush covers with Pete Thorne, Philip Bino, and Mike Portnoy. So we went out to Burbank to shoot that, and we shot 3 music videos and did the doc around it.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was 2 years ago. That was pretty much what consumed my entire year, was getting the 3 music videos and the doc out.
Yeah.
And I'd done another doc for him, which was Pan Rocks LA, where they got the rockers together, like Bruce Kulick and Tracy Guns and Stephen Perkins, and did a bunch of rock and roll songs.
Oh, cool.
And they had brought the footage in, and I cut that together, and I was like, yeah, Tracy, if we do this again, like, get me, one other guy. Justin Reich actually was, he DP'd for me when we went out there.
I've seen some of his stuff online. He didn't he just do a documentary about his brother or something? Is that the guy?
Justin Reich does a bunch of music videos. But he did Bella and the Slasher was the last film he did.
Okay.
And then it's always music videos.
Okay,
But I'm
maybe
not
that's what it
familiar with
was.
the other one. But
Yeah, I keep confusing him with someone else.
Yeah,
There's a filmmaker that's.
yeah, I'm not sure.
well, there's
I need to figure it out. Yeah.
there's Jason, Justin, Jesse. There's a bunch of J's, and everybody's cranking out their own individual stuff, and it kind of overlaps.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, back when you were making like the Adam Ross stuff, and
Yeah.
in the nicest way possible, I was insanely jealous of you guys. Y'all were like making, like I was doing stuff, but we had scraps of things to make.
Oh, we were scraps back then.
I know, but y'all were so much like y'all had like real lights and real, C-stands and stuff like that. That was above us. Me at that time.
We sort of did,
dude. But like what you let all those those students in, and they learn. Really, a lot of people learned from you just on those crazy projects. Like a lot of stuff.
I loved my kids, man. When I was teaching, I taught at PCC from 2002 or 3 to 2014.
Wow.
And I was always making film, always. And PCC, it's a community college, so you've got your change of lifers where it's people in their 40s, or people who just couldn't figure it out in their 30s, and people who didn't like their first round of school in their 20s, and then people who just wanted to make film. And I was always just let's make a film.
Yeah.
And they inspired me a lot of times. They're like, well, Matt, make another one. I'm like, man, you realize how much shit we got to go through to make film? But when I was early on, I would just pull whoever wanted to play because it was always their first project. And it's hilarious. Like, people thought I had a trust fund, which I don't. People thought I was making a cult. I wasn't. They called my kids Matt morons, which is really like, I didn't know any of this until much, much later. But I didn't notice any of that. I was like, let's make film. And, they would come in, they'd do their first couple projects, and they'd go out into the world. And I'm still friends with all of them. But, yeah, like the Ross days, should we dive into the Ross days?
Might as well.
Yeah. I was working with this guy, Jonathan Campbell, who owned Emotive Media. And he had taught at the school, and I was teaching at the school, and I was also the staff, the repair guy, basically.
Yeah.
And so John and I were working together at Emotive because I left the school, and I wasn't part of the staff anymore. I was just teaching as an adjunct, and just trying to get away from school.
Right.
And so a 48-hour film project came up, and that same weekend, John broke his neck on his bicycle. And so John was out, and the world was just like, what the hell? And I didn't really know what to do. We made the 40-hour thing, and I was like, I had to finish up John's projects, and, he wasn't coming back. So I helped him basically finish up Emotive and close it down, and I was basically, just lost. I'd been doing like 60, 70, 80 hours a week just trying to do John's stuff to try to get it finalized. And I was a mess. I was just walking down the street like a dead man. And all of a sudden, just burp, burp. I'm walking across the street and getting lunch, and it's Michael McQueen. He goes, Matt. And Michael, what the hell are you doing back in Greensboro? Oh, I got a girlfriend now. I'm going to get engaged, durka. So he started working with me, and I was like, well, maybe I should move. I might as well keep an office. So we went over to Linden Street Artworks, and we remodeled one of those spots in there. And we were looking around, shopping around, and there was this tall, just weird-ass dude that looked like a giant Woody Allen, just wearing no socks and boots with no laces in them and a denim jacket with no shirt on, just a denim jacket. And I'm like, who the hell is this crazy guy? And he's like, you don't want this spot. You want my old studio. And so we went upstairs, and it's just this, just shit everywhere, just crammed into this one room. But I saw the potential in it. And he's like, it would be cool if you were here and I was next there. And he's like showing me this film camera he made out of wood. And the guy was just really eccentric, and I could not wrap my brain around this freak show. But I was like, it's a good idea. I think we'll start working on it. And so for 2 weeks, I'm remodeling the office. I'm not working on anything. I'm just remodeling the office with Michael. And, Ross kept poking his kooky ass head around the corner. Whoa, we should try this. Or, what would be cool? And I had no idea that the man was a millionaire. I thought he was just homeless living in Linden Street. I mean, if you never met him, did you? Jesse,
No.
you met him.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, he was just the strangest guy you'd ever met. And but in the 2 weeks, that I was doing this, I grew fond of him. And like the day was suddenly boring if Ross wasn't poking his head in like a weird Kramer, you know, like. And so we made Dawn of the Redneck Samurai, and we won a 48 and some other stuff. And Ross just took notice to it, and he goes, you know, hey, let's make a film. I'm like, okay. Again, not knowing, I didn't even know he was married at the time. I just, this is a strange person. And it turns out the guy was like a millionaire. And I'd always wanted to do a feature before I was 35. And this is the craziest thing. And this is why Ross is just so important, and he's so missed. Like, he became one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I was his bumper to the world. You know, I like, he wouldn't do his taxes. I had a drawer for Ross's taxes for everything to do. This goes in the drawer, Ross. Jesus Christ, just pay attention to what you have to do. He didn't care. He just had money, and he didn't care. So in the office, it's late. We got a bunch of people running in and out making shorts or whatever, and everybody leaves. And when everybody leaves, Ross always comes in, and we talk about, you know, the afterlife or aliens or whatever the hell Ross wanted to talk about that night. And he goes, so the Redneck Samurai thing, make it into a feature. It's like, yeah, it'd be great if we had money. He goes, $55,000. I was like, what? He goes, make it for $55,000. And I made enough shorts and done enough to know, you know, the cogs started working. And I was like, well, I don't want to do it if I don't pay my people. Because before, everybody'd worked for hopefully something to come up.
Right, yeah.
So we took the $55,000, had 2 weeks to prep it, and we did. And everybody got paid, including myself. This was our pact when we started doing the Ross stuff, is everyone gets paid the same. And it was to avoid arguments. So
right,
PAs, DPs, everybody, because we're all young.
Yeah, yeah.
Even the actors, anybody we brought in, you got.
How old were you at the time?
35.
Okay.
But the funny part was, it was the night before I turned 36.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, I actually met my goal of having a feature when I'm 35 by like 14 hours.
Right at the cutoff date, yeah.
And Ross, you know, I was like, are you serious, Ross? And he goes, yes, I'm serious. And I was like, well, shake my hand on it. Everything I ever did with that man for 3.5 years was done on a handshake.
Yeah.
Just straight up, honest. He paid everything in cash, and all the numbers stacked up. We never took a thing. And
That's awesome.
Oh, it did. And we did Dawn of the Redneck Samurai. We did Children of the Hunt. We did Vault of Darkness, and we started Hatchet County. And Ross passed when he was 37. It was right when
Oh, what happened?
he had a heart attack. He had, and I was telling Jesse this. You know, we were driving one day to find a location to shoot Children of the Hunt, and Ross owned this land, and he forgot what exit it was off the highway. And I was like, he's like, didn't you say it was Business 85, Ross? He goes, oh, yeah. And I'm like, Ross, this is Business 85. Oh, shit. You know, and he wheels over there, and I'm just like, because I didn't like Ross driving at all. But he's like, yeah, hesitation will be the death of me. You know, and I never thought that would come back. Well, he had gotten meningitis, and it was whipping his ass. And for the stress of it, he got shingles. So you're talking about 2 neurological things going at you at one time. And his temperature got up over 104, and he didn't go to the hospital. And then he had like the stroke that you have from that, and then a heart attack, and then another heart attack. But because he didn't go, that's what took him out. And
That's crazy.
So he passed. He never got to see. He made us stop working on Dawn of the Redneck Samurai because it was SD, and we had shot it like 2005, where you could still get stuff into Walmart. So he pulled the plug on that, and that's the only project I've never finished. I just never went back to it.
Oh, okay.
But he was like, I want to do this Children of the Hunt thing, so let's do it. And he never got to see the finished product. Like, he never got to see it go to Roku or be in Family Video or be on Amazon. And it sucks ass.
Yeah.
And Hatchet County was like a 1800s Justice League kind of thing, and we had shot the pilot for that. He never got to see that finished. And Vault of Darkness wasn't complete. We had shot his section, and he died like 2 months later.
Yeah.
So, I finished everything up. It took me until 2014 and more money than I should have put into it, but finished it all up. But in here, I had no choice.
Right,
like, the big man believed in me. And I call him the big man. He was 6'2", but it was Captain Ross. And we were all crew members on his boat. And he did. He made a lot of people's, he started a lot of people's dreams. He put a little bit of money in your pocket, but he was probably the kindest person I've ever met. Weirdest person I've ever met. Would talk about some inappropriates. He just talked about what he wanted to talk about, but But he's been gone for.
What did he do? What was his profession?
He didn't have one.
How did he make his money?
It was funny. His father made a lot of money. His mother made a lot of money, and he was just not wired like the rest of his family. So when his father passed and they got their inheritance, both of his brothers had jobs, and basically the deal was you can work a job, and the inheritance will match what you make a year, so basically double your income. And his two brothers took that. Ross just didn't want to work. Ross hated work, so Ross just took the money and just lived off of it. And I don't know how it works when you have lots of money, but I guess if it sits
Probably
somewhere,
under a trust or something.
Yeah, and you get interest, and it propels what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, after we got one thing done, and he was all excited, and people were drinking wine and beer and having food, and we were celebrating. I think it was a 48 or something like that. And his wife goes, just pulls me to the side, and she goes, "Thank you for giving him something to do," because he was just. I mean, it was crazy. The guy was really intelligent.
Yeah.
Like, one time we dropped a lens, and if you drop a lens, you're fooked. Well, Ross took it in his office and figured out how to get it back on the track and gave it back to us. And the man, like, he thought about the afterlife constantly. And I mean, we had some deep, deep discussions about all this kind of stuff. And there's a little door in my head that he opened up as far as how the world works or what happens next or whatever. Yeah. And I don't want to go too long-winded about this, but the guy was totally infatuated with the idea that there's a way that the dead communicate with the living. And he had tried to make the radio, or he'd been messing with that kind of stuff. And when you're a millionaire, if your spare time, that's what you do. And I know this sounds weird, but my life was so attached to his. Like, I was sort of his, like, samurai. Yeah. Like, I got out in front of him if the bad stuff was coming. But I mean, what can I say? The guy gave me a shot. He believed in me, so I was just always protective of him. But all these discussions we had about the afterlife, and then when he passed, I was like, if there's anybody that's going to communicate with me via radio, it's going to be Ross. So I don't listen to the radio very often. It's if I forget MP3 or something like that, and you're driving in the car, I in the back of my mind, I just wish he would find out a way to do that. So I'd be driving. He's like, "Hey, Matt."
Well, maybe he did.
Shit, Ross. Like, warn me before you come back from the dead and talk to me, dude.
Well, maybe he did by planting that idea in your mind. So every time you touch the radio, you think about him. So
but,
sort of.
When people die, and this is just in your head. It's happened to my grandmother once, but when he'd pull up to my house, he would drive through the yard, park in the yard, because somebody had done that in the past, and he would get out of the car and somehow teleport right to the door and just come on in. I gave him the come on in policy. And he would be in my office door within like seconds. And he'd been dead for, I don't know, a couple weeks. And I just hear the car, and I hear the door, and I see Ross for half a second, and I blink, and he's gone. But that's your mind, and you're grieving and all that kind of stuff. But like, it freaked me out. I was just like, because I don't know what the afterlife does. I don't know who moves in and out, but there was just this slight second where it's like, that was his goodbye or something like that. Like, hey, buddy. But that's, I feel weird telling that story, but it happened.
Oh,
yeah.
It happened in my brain, but,
Yeah.
it's a bummer. But yeah, he gave a lot of people opportunities. He liked to see stuff done. He worked with Blake and Micah and a couple other people, and he wanted to be a sort of a film guru, Adam Ross production guy.
Yeah.
He hit me up a long time ago. He saw my movie Static, and he wanted to do a feature-length version of that on film for $10,000. And I was like, "You're crazy."
No, the 10,000 thing, it doesn't wash. We brought him around because, like, Children of the Hunt was originally $82,000,
Right.
and with post and everything, it got up to like $120,000. But still $120,000 for a feature is crazy.
Still really reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's way reasonable. The Fast Society episode, I mean, put it this way, when you're really spending money in the proper place, it really starts to stack up. I mean, we were living on a prayer and a dream and everybody else's dreams. And the one thing, like, we never shorted anybody. We were always straight with everybody. And that part feels good. It didn't take off the way it should have.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of the films have made it to like Amazon or Roku or whatever. We're not seeing anything back, and that's kind of the reason that I don't focus that much on film. I've still got one in my head that I'd like to do, but I'm not going to do it unless it's like the filmmaking way to do it with the DPs that I want, the actors that I want, and I've got them on board. It's just that, you know, to do this properly, it's going to take like 20 G's, and because of COVID, you know, I would usually get a pocket of money that I should have bought a car with, and then make film with it. This time I'm buying a car. I'd saved up some money for a car. COVID hit, and then I lived off that, and then so I'm still driving my old. Well, I sold my car to my ex-girlfriend because I figured, hey, I'm gonna buy a new car. Then COVID hit, so I'd sold my car. I'm like, shit. And so I'm driving around my van that I was only supposed to be driving around for a couple of months. I'm still driving the damn thing around, and it's like a Transit with nothing in the back.
As long as it works.
It works.
Yeah.
I mean, right now the boy and I use it for skating and riding bikes, and there's skateboards and helmets and basketballs back there. It's just, but it looks like I don't know, like I'm driving a work van for regular life.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, how old's your boy?
He's 12.
Yeah.
And I met him when he was 6. I helped my ex-girlfriend adopt him. And he and I were always tight. And even though her and I split up, we're still really good friends. And, you know, he just needed a dad.
Yeah.
And so somewhere like 2.5 years ago, you know, finally I was like, you know, let me play this role. Let me be this dad. I mean, I'm not going to have a kid. This kid and I are like, you know, Batman and Robin, just peas and carrots. We are clicked.
That's cool.
And so for like 2.5 years, I've been a dad, which is something I never expected.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
He's great. He comes with me. He's been to set several times. He doesn't complain. He's done some 14-hour days, and you know, he can be a tired kid, but he doesn't quit. He understands the concept of bounce. He's starting to learn the name of the gear and stuff like that. So what I told him is, you know, he's real into music. He likes dancing. He likes playing drums. He likes activities like that. And I was like, well,
yeah.
I'm going to teach you a trade. I'm going to teach him how to gaff or grip or whatever. And, you know, I want to teach you how to drive the truck. So, you know, when I'm old, you can fill in for me, and you don't have to do this for the rest of your life, but you have a job or trade that you're good at, and then you can go play drums or whatever. I mean, he'll change his mind 50,000 times before, you know, before game time, but
yeah, it's a good opportunity though. He's been exposed to some cool things that most people don't have a chance to see.
Yeah, I mean, he was without for a while, and being in the world that we're in, you know, he gets to see stuff that he normally wouldn't get to see, and I mean, when you make film or when you're serious about it, you'll see stuff you don't expect to see. You'll meet people you wouldn't expect to meet. You're going to go places.
Right.
Like I never thought I'd go to Montreal. I went to Montreal to shoot stuff for Mack Truck. This is where we're going.
Yeah.
Cool. You know, I never thought I'd go to a lot of places we went, like Reno. Had the best time. We're out there shooting Mack Trucks, and hey, here we are.
So there's a lot of money in that industry too. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
It's been better.
Yeah.
Like when I quit teaching, I did everything backwards. But when I quit teaching, I just focused on gaffing and shooting, and ended up making a lot more money. But,
right. Yeah.
But I miss teaching because I miss the kids.
Yeah.
But my form of teaching probably wouldn't work now.
Right.
Because I teach like set. You know, like, come on, man. Quit being such a whatever, you know, get your ass up and stop whining. What's the matter with you? Yes, I know we've been here for 10 hours and it's raining. Yeah. You know, that doesn't wash now.
Yeah.
And I could see it coming. But I mean, I would probably go back maybe like when I'm 70 or something like that. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know, a lot of the early students I have, they're my contemporaries. They're my friends now. Some of my best friends used to be my students.
That's cool.
And because, I mean, I was teaching like 30.
Yeah.
And they're all like, you know, 19, 20. So now they're all grown-ups, and they have kids, and, you know, we'll work on projects together and stuff like that.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Hey. So you said you did everything backwards, but I'm curious. So have you put any thought into what's the next, 5 years? Like, what's the plan? Or do you have one?
I
know you said the 20 grand earlier for this other thing you're trying to do. But
yeah. Well, it's okay if you do a reality show or if you do something for a block, you make a big chunk of money in that block, and there's always, if you're a filmmaker, in the back of your mind, you're making that filmmaking money.
Right.
And I didn't expect to be gaffer on a reality show for 3 years running, and that's Toy Makers.
Okay.
But it opened up doors. It paid for my truck. It paid for all my lights. And, basically King Coyote Production Lighting was an entity before Toy Makers started. But when Toy Makers started, all the money coming in, it built my truck. And I'm grateful to those guys for that. But now I've got a truck with loaded gear, and I can go from show to show to show. So I would like to move on. I mean, I ended up doing a lot of car stuff, car and truck stuff with Mack Truck and with Toy Makers and with the Fast Society, and kind of just interested in it. I like lighting cars. Done a lot of music video stuff, and just thoroughly enjoy that because it's just fun. Done a lot of that with Justin Reich or Justin Beasley or with Tracy Thornton, which is somebody you guys need to have on this show.
Tracy
Thornton.
Okay.
Yeah, he plays pan. He's one of the best known pan players in the world, knows all the pan players in the world. He works here, and the man is just a machine. But yeah, I'll give you guys Tracy's hookup.
Definitely.
But I've been extremely happy with the past 6 years.
That's awesome.
Doing that kind of stuff. Hasn't been as much creative, but there has been enough to keep me creative. So from here on, my dad wanted me to make a change. He doesn't, as far as this life goes, he just doesn't understand it. And I told him, after 2 years, I would pull the card and I'd look for something regular if it didn't pick up. Well, it stayed in a pretty good picked up position to the point where my truck's full and it might be time to put another one together.
Right.
And it would be cool if the boy got into it, to him have his own truck, me to have my own truck. So that's kind of the path I'm on, with making and directing what I can on the side, but mostly gaffing and DPing because, when it's you in the truck, a day rate goes from just, your day rate to your day rate and a truck, which makes it a very healthy day. And you get a few healthy days in a row, and it's looking pretty good. But, just like Jesse and the rest of these guys, it's not going to leave your heart. And it hasn't left mine. I mean, the next thing I want to do is called Solid in the FM. And it's like superhero based, but it's sort of like unsuperhero. And it's about a guy who basically has the powers of the Tick. He's just not strong. He's just nigh invulnerable. So, and he meets the FM is like the Batman equivalent, but without all the, bat type stuff. He's just a really smart guy who knows how to use technology.
Right.
But the man, or Solid, which is the character's name, you just can't shoot him. You can't stab him. And it's a comedy, but also has the dark edges of the stuff that I've always liked to do. And to do the first 20 minutes, to do the first 20 minutes to get the funding, everybody's tried it. Doesn't necessarily work, but you can sometimes get a following if it's just that good. And it's a good idea, and the actors that I have for it, I can't do it. I was going to try to do it when COVID first hit because I had a pocket of money, which I used to survive through COVID.
Right.
But I had approached my friend Jim Mahorney, who's hilarious, and he was going to play the part of Solid. And there's no one else on this planet that I want to play the part of Solid. And that's a nigh invulnerable guy, and it just can't be without him. So when COVID is clear, because he's got 2 kids, his wife, and they're doing all that. So if the pocket comes around again, then I will put that in motion, and we'll do it.
That's awesome.
But I've also been backing up all my other buddies, when they need me to come in, say they can afford me, but they can't afford the gear or whatever. I always go do that. So hopefully later on I'll be like, so if I can afford you, but not the gear, would you come shoot my shit?
Yeah.
And it's always been that way. It's always been give and take. Like when these guys call, I go, the instant they call, I go, cause it's fun.
Yeah.
And there's no, in my opinion, there's none of this that's not going to be fun with these guys like Jesse or Jason or Justin or Brett. It always is. We might do some long days, we're just not tense.
No.
I'm intense, but I'm not tense.
Right.
Well, that's why Brett keeps calling me back to set because I have the filmmaker from back in the day was, producer, director, editor, it was a writer, it was very much, I want to control this ball. But in that process, it sort of made me like a time tiger as far as the day goes. And, AD Matt is what Brett calls it. And I can switch into AD Matt while being the gaffer. I'll start yelling at people about time. And we don't use that because I don't want to be, like I used to be pretty abrasive, and I don't necessarily want to be that way.
Right.
I want it to happen, but there's a million good ways to make it happen without snapping at somebody.
Right.
And
I
then
had the same issue.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but you know what I'm talking about. Like
Totally.
you your head gets to a certain point, and then you say something to somebody, and you see how it affected them.
Right.
And you're like, God, I'm an asshole. I shouldn't have done that.
Totally. Like it's just an order. You need it to happen, and it needs to happen it needed really to happen 8 seconds ago. And so you forget about being nice, and you're just trying to get it to happen.
And you're just like, ah, and then you forget that they're there for $100 a day.
And you can crush somebody.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
No, I've said things that I regretted, and I really wish I hadn't. But at the end of it, you're like you remember that. And there's and
you learn.
Yeah, I've said something to somebody, and then later on, I pulled them aside, and I'm like, dude, it was just the heat of the moment, and I shouldn't have said that. And there was actually one student, he started crying, almost made me start crying, because he was like, yeah, dude, it's just like, you're my teacher, and I'm so excited to be here, and you blew up on me. And I was like, right, that's why we're having this discussion, because I got too above who I was supposed to be, and I acted like a prick, and I'm sorry. And you can do this. You can do that often. And then, sometimes you'll get up your own ass, and you think you're great, and then you'll say something that you didn't mean to say, but you're like,
yeah.
And then suddenly you've offended somebody you didn't need to offend.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing that anymore. And I didn't like doing it then. I just realized it.
Yeah.
But.
And you change, and then you learn things go a lot better when you don't.
Oh yeah. Well, the flies, with honey type deal. And now when I see someone like that, I maybe it's because a disgusted part of me is like, dude, you used to be like that. But, you see it, you're like, hey, man, you don't have to yell at the kid. There's 1,000 ways to get in their head in a good way, and you don't have to just gnash them apart.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that don't get that. There's a lot of people who are trained by pricks to be pricks.
Yep.
And I do not float on their boats well at all.
Yeah.
I've said a couple of things, but I've stood behind what I said, because I'm like, this is no way to act.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, because of the industry and because of the position of certain these people, they think, well, because they're there, they have the right to act that way. No, they don't.
Yeah.
And you don't have to kiss their ass if they're being rude, because at the end of the day, and this really happens when you're out in the field and you've been out there for 15 hours and it's pouring down rain and you're still fighting, and then, when they start to flip out or whatever, that's the moment of truth.
Yeah.
But I think it's also too when people realize when you're supposed to be a good person, when you're supposed to be a bad person, when you're not supposed to go off on someone.
Yeah.
Or when you're supposed to be grateful for the fact that they're giving you their time.
Yeah.
But I've worked with a lot of people over a long period of time, and the ones who come in like that, I'll put it this way, you want as many people showing up to your funeral as possible, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these folks is going to be a lonely, cold funeral.
Yep.
Because they have a way of just burning folks out.
Yeah.
And I don't get it, because there's some of them like, you should be grateful that somebody paid you $18,000 to be here for a day.
Yeah.
Like, how can you not?
Yeah.
And still, it's not enough. But I never figured that out. But a great example. We were doing the Black Label Society stuff last week. These guys could act any kind of way. They're rockers. Yeah. They're legendary rockers. But they're not. They're not rude. I mean, they look like Vikings, but they're the sweetest people out there because they know how lucky they are.
Right. Yeah.
And we didn't have a tense moment, not one time.
Well, it should be fun, right?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, they get a little tired or whatever, but I mean, they're also used to be on stage going full hardcore for 2 hours, so
yeah,
we make it. That's the stuff I like to see. That's the stuff that, when it's no bad shoots, is basically the idea. And Brett Mullen and I came up with that a long time ago. Same thing with Jim Mahorny when we're doing corporate or that kind of stuff. Is there's no need for the day to get awful.
Yeah,
no,
I agree.
You're having fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
cool.
well, sometimes no. A lot of the corporate stuff, it's not necessarily
corporate
that
stuff,
fun.
Yeah.
But but there's no, I mean, we have fun. Jim
You're
and
still
I have
creating
fun.
something, though.
Yeah, and there's no need for all this
Yeah.
nastiness.
Well, I think when you start to let other people affect your mental state's a problem, but then when you start to negatively affect other people's mental state, it's an even bigger problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's just this positivity is contagious, but
Negativity is too.
I think negativity is 10 to 1 contagious.
More contagious, yeah.
Like I can be a negative person in a room full of people, right? My peers, my coworkers, my partners, whatever, my employees, and instantly change the course, the trajectory of everybody's day in that room.
Yeah.
Maybe
Exactly.
days, maybe several days, not just the course of their days, but then it has this ripple effect across your company, your operations, everything. Whereas the positive version of me, it takes positivity like showering, like bathing daily. It takes it over and over and over and over again, and positive reinforcement, and then it sticks. But it takes a lot more effort for that contagious effect with positivity than it does negativity. It's so easy to be negative. So like that's what I found. It's like, how do I solve this problem? How do I redirect? And really, from a creative point of view, like, how do I impact this person in a different way? What can I do? What type of behavior can I do? Something as simple like I come in, I see Neil, and Neil's not the one I'm talking about, but let's say I come in, I see Neil, I dap him up. Hey, man, good morning. What's going on? Hey, nice to see you. Like, just going out of my way to do something different. And maybe it's not that. Maybe it's some way, but some way to break through, have some type of like positive interaction with somebody, be a positive influence, some words of encouragement, or a way to redirect if there's a problem that we're facing together. Because the problem is the problem. I'm not going to get mad at this person because a problem popped up, right? So how do we get through it? How do I get them in the best state of mind to get through it? So that's something I'm constantly thinking about, because a decade ago, and sometimes I struggle recently, you know. I mean, it's not common, but a decade ago, that wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly.
Same here.
You
A
know,
decade ago,
Yeah. And I hate
I
that.
don't know. I thought the world owed me. I didn't
Yeah.
really think that. It's just like
Well, I think when you're younger, you take yourself too seriously sometimes.
maybe, or like are you 40,
36.
36?
40.
All right. So when you turned 40, did you suddenly feel like you didn't know a damn thing, or before you felt like you knew everything?
I felt like that for a while.
When I turned 40, I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm a moron.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like
Man, I tell you, so
I've learned enough to know I don't know anything.
yeah, so I commonly say to people that I'm close to, I'll say, because this is dangerous to say, I'll say I have more potential than anybody I know. At least I believe I do. But saying that also means what I'm really telling you is I have more room for improvement than anybody I know, which means I've got more work to do than everybody else I know, because I'm not finished yet, right? It's like this constant state of, I got a lot of learning to do. I got a lot of growth to do. And that's if you think you've got potential, what you really mean is you think you got a long way to go.
yeah.
Right. So like this mentality of trying to flip it back on itself and going, okay, Daniel, what are you really saying to yourself? So like you say, hey, did you wake up at 40 and realize you didn't know anything? Like, I don't know when it happened. Probably, I don't know, 30, 28,
Really?
I
30.
think for me, it probably was.
Oh, I still wasn't
early
paying
30s.
attention to that voice then.
And I was like,
I was riding the lightning. It just didn't
yeah.
matter.
Now 25, you could. I mean, like I had a point at probably at 25 it peaked, where I was just. Now listen, I worked hard. I mean, I did. I partied hard. I worked hard. I would party and do whatever. You know, use your imagination. And we'd finish up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just wouldn't sleep, and I'd still do what I needed to do. I still got my stuff done. I was a high achiever.
Yeah.
However, I definitely had that mentality that could be very toxic, that was negative, that was way too aggressive. And when I had a bad day, everybody else around me might have one too.
Right.
So like it was definitely the wrong way to do it. And I didn't think so much about, you know, who's going to be at my funeral. More so for me, it was about I became what I like. I'm trying to become what I envisioned, which was I want loyalty, but it has to be reciprocated. Like I'll unload a trailer, I'll clean the toilet. If you called and asked me, the only thing I won't do, if you and I are buddies and you call and ask me to help you move, I'll show up and I'll stand next to you and I'll help you dictate and advise the mover and company that I've hired where to put the stuff, how to do it, how to wrap it. I'll help you do that. I'm just not lifting furniture anymore. Other than that, though, I'm there, right? So I try to be like, you said, hey, man, if I show up, will it be reciprocated in the future? That's the guy. Like, I'm a guy that likes to build favors now, right? I want loyalty and respect, and I want to give it in return as well. And, you know, I lost everything and had to start over. And when I did, obviously, like my team came back to me, and there was a reason that they did, right? So I think it was some of those behaviors, you know. So I don't know. That's more what I think about, because all the material things, they can go away, and all this other stuff can go away. But like the person you are, I think you've got people that would do anything for you, and they would take whatever you could give them, even if it was nothing. You know, like that's the kind of guy I want to be. Like I want people that'll kind of go to war for me.
Yeah.
But you got to be one.
And then, well, there's the people that you'll go to war for.
Exactly.
Like there's several folks I'll just take a bullet for because that's who they
That's
are.
right. That's right. And that's the kind of, like, that's what when I strive to be, like, I want to be the guy that they weren't here because they made a lot of money. They're here because of me in some form, right? Because they're talented. A lot of our guys that we have, a lot of our crews, our staff, are talented guys, really talented, hardworking guys. So I firmly believe they would land on their feet no matter where they were. But they choose to be here, so I appreciate that.
Well, you said the main thing there, where you took a loss.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, you know, I took 2 losses that, you know, were big losses. And you know, I thought I would be a more bitter person after that, but it was just the opposite. And that's the Vic Coffin, when I used to take from him, he would tell you this thing like, you know, as you're building up to your black belt, you're doing like this to a peak. And then when you hit the peak, you've just started. Here you think you're something, right? You still have to invert the pyramid and go out this way.
Yeah.
Fill that with all the rest of the stuff that you're going to learn from that point on. And that always stuck with me. But, you know, when, you know, I took a loss and, you know, it's pretty gnarly. But ever since that loss, like it's been climb with better and better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And I still, there's a block of time that I don't even recognize that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to be like that guy again.
I agree with
and
that.
I'm still answering for some of the,
Yeah.
or, you know, there's probably still an image in someone's mind of that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, you can only replace it with the better stuff you're doing now. You can't replace that moment or whatever.
See, I think that guy for me somewhere, I don't know if it was as early as 13, probably for some people, but I'd say mid-teens, you know, 13, 14, 15, somewhere as early as that to 25. There's definitely a lot of that guy that I don't like, that I wouldn't be cool with, that I wouldn't be friends with. Like, I would probably respect his hustle, but I'd be like, that's a crazy motherfucker. I just need to stay away from him. I need to keep him away from my friends, family, or anybody I care about, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you have students, you recognize yourself in them.
Yeah.
And that happened quite a bit. We're like, look, you arrogant little shit. You know, you think you're a genius. Like, I know you. Trust me, I know you. You're like, you know, the kid one day showed up with, like, I forgot what it was, like a Dag Nasty t-shirt on. I was like, oh, you like Dag Nasty, huh? Yeah, you probably hadn't heard of him. Like, no, actually, I've seen him twice. Shut up, really? You know, and then suddenly he's like, well, who else have you seen? It's like, yeah, exactly. I used to be you, kid. Like, well, let's talk about that. I mean, well, yeah, I think we've talked that one.
Yeah.
We got it. Be better people.
Be 100%, man.
You know, you asked me when
What's that?
I had some change in my perception and I guess some personality changes was probably, see, I took some big losses too around 2013, probably right before that, but then between mostly 2013 to 15, took some huge losses myself, and one of those losses was my leg. I was in a motorcycle accident, lost my right leg below the knee, and
Whoa.
that was a big change for me because I had to.
I just looked at your leg like I could see through your pants. You know? You mean that leg?
It's good technology, but you know, I've always been very ambitious and pretty intense when I was young, and I was just go, and then when this happened, it made me sort of set back and reevaluate some stuff and changed my perception a little bit, or a lot, and in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he knew me before.
Yeah,
the
it was
accident.
definitely. I didn't have a problem with it. See, I guess I should quantify what I was saying. Like the people that I was really hard on, we'll just leave it at that, were typically people that today just needed redirection or a little bit of motivation or some type of positive influence in their life. I just thought if you weren't a high achiever, if you weren't a hustler, if you weren't a fucking badass trying to get out there and get it,
You're getting left behind.
Exactly, and I respected the hell out of him because he was those things. He was abrasive, but I didn't mind that. So like I didn't have a problem with him,
Yeah,
but he was definitely very blunt.
Yeah.
Blunt.
Which.
That's blunt.
Yeah.
Direct.
Blunt
I
gets,
recently
Blunt can
found
get
out.
things done.
I recently found out I'm on the spectrum though, so that could have something to do.
That's
with it
true.
as well.
Oh, dude. Wait, like I don't know where the spectrum starts and
I think it's pretty
ends.
broad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's 3 other personalities in here.
I snuck under the radar for 40 years, so
Yeah.
it's broad.
It's hilarious because like the boy Dan, and he's got concentration problems.
Yeah.
And they try to have him on meds and stuff like that just to equal it out. But exercise is actually the best thing,
I agree.
in my
Yeah.
opinion, for that.
I agree.
But like when I was a kid, I'm ADD as hell, like just, and dyslexic, that usually goes with it. And back then you were just like, focus. That's what the teacher told you.
Yeah.
Look. So for dyslexia, the learn for that was they gave me a ruler and I just read slow.
Yeah.
And for the ADD, it was like focus. There were still paddlings back then.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
So it was just a matter of you just have to find a way around it. Like, I mean, you don't see anything written on my hand today, but usually there's notes on my hand because that's the only way. That's the only way, but that is the cure.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the spectrum goes, there are a lot of filmmakers on the spectrum, brother.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people today, anyway. It's definitely an increasing thing.
They're identified. They weren't identified back then.
Yeah.
You were just kooky
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Or just
right.
you just
eccentric or
just
something.
you couldn't settle down. You can't focus on any one damn thing. No, I don't. Look at it. There's a blue car. Look.
I think it's a blessing actually though, because like I think some of the things that made me so I finally I think at 30 somewhere around there I could breathe. Like it's hard to explain, but I was so volatile. I had so many things, and I need like I don't need 50 projects, but I definitely need like 7 to 10.
Yeah,
I need things different things that I can work on. So I don't know if it's different parts of my brain. I just need different I can't do the same thing. I hate a cubicle.
And it's got to be a little uncomfortable too, right?
It's got to be uncomfortable, definitely.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I've got to have a little bit of chaos. I've got to have some stress or pressure, a problem to solve, and then. So I was going to tell you about your boy. Like I definitely got in trouble for talk. I mean, I'm talking pre-teen. I was having major issues. I got I had sleeping. I had all this other stuff, but some of those were like just not focusing, not paying. I was highly intelligent, but I just didn't want to sit in a chair in a room in a building and listen to teachers for 8-9 hours straight a day and work at everybody else's pace and do the exact same thing that everybody else was doing. And I'm going to tell you that's not a problem. Like it's not. Everybody thinks it is. It's not.
No.
It's actually part of what makes me really successful, right?
Yeah,
You just got to.
Well, stuff. You know you're interested in certain things.
Exactly.
Not interested in other things.
Well, you're wired.
Exactly.
I mean, when you're born
Yeah.
in your family and structure or whatever, but eventually you are wired a certain way.
So you just got to figure
you're
out.
predisposed to certain interests.
How you got to figure out how to use that wiring to do.
One of our partners, man. One of our partners, like all the stuff I had trouble with, he had trouble with, to like the nth degree, like in school and stuff, right? But this guy, put him like he ended up, I believe, becoming a master mechanic. But put him doing something he wants to do, he excels.
He's all over.
He's all over it, man. Like he wanted to get an aviation or flying, like he was on it, and he stuck with it, and he does it, and he just lives, eats, and breathes it. Like when it comes to motors or cars or things, like guy's worth a ton of money. This is like 4 years ago. I remember this specifically, but he's done very, very well financially, and like literally, and he's like the guy that's that is intimidating to most people, right? But like huge heart. Like person's broke down the side of the road. I remember him like wheeling their vehicle in, or maybe the tire was blown, and like putting it up on his lift and changing their tire for him. Like I remember stuff like that. Like he's just, but his mind definitely ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it, definitely has trouble focusing. But then there's these things that do captivate his interest, right? And he's a take no shit kind of guy. But like, you got to find those things that work. It's the same thing with your boy. It's just like there's a lot of positive that's going to come from that.
Yeah, you just have to allow him or usher him.
Yeah,
A lot of that's just
into the
creativity.
areas.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got that all day long.
yeah.
But yeah, focusing is not his
No, man,
strong suit
I still
until
struggle.
he finds something. Like, okay, all right.
You said he's 12, right?
He's 12.
Yeah, I mean he's coming into that. He's actually it's probably going to get a little bit worse because mine was like from 13 to 17, I was, goddamn.
Well, see, I'm hoping that he keeps his heart because he's very empathetic. He's got a huge heart.
Good.
That won't change, likely.
Yeah, it's still there.
But shut up, Matt. I'm waiting on that. I got a counter for that. Definitely. But I am waiting for the attitude to come in. But we'll see what happens. But like he'll get on a tangent. All right, so this is funny. We were Off the Wall was on my song Off the Wall from Off the Wall with Michael Jackson. And we're in the car, and he loves dance or whatever, and he's like, who is this? And I was like, this is Michael Jackson. He goes, this is Michael Jackson? And I handed him the phone, and it's Michael Jackson from like 79, whenever Off the Wall. And he goes, this is Michael Jackson? I'm like, yeah. He goes, but this is just a normal looking black guy. I was like, Michael Jackson used to be a normal looking black guy. And he's like, what? And I was like, look up the stages of Michael Jackson. And he looked up, and he's just like, couldn't believe it because he never knew. I mean, he's young, but he never knew. Yeah. And then, suddenly I thought, because it freaked him out. I thought, well, good, it's good that you're afraid of Michael Jackson. That'll stir a whole bunch of stuff up with people. But then suddenly he got this fascination, and he wanted to be able to dance like Michael Jackson. So, I mean, and the kid, once he put, all right, my girlfriend got him the Michael Jackson fun kit, with the glasses and the hat and the glove. The kid's got the hat movements down and the ee-hees and all this kind of stuff, and just went off on this tangent that he just dug into it, did all this research and stuff. So, like, since about Christmas, like, he's nailed everything but the moonwalk because, no one will ever nail the moonwalk. There's only one person that can do it. So I just tell him not to moonwalk. I'll look at all your other dance moves, not to moonwalk. But he just like took it there. And I was just like, damn, dude. And now he's the same way with like the way he is about, he wants to drum. Yeah. So my cousin got him one of these little shitty drum kits you give kids to drive their parents crazy, and then the kid loses interest in it. Yeah. The first day he got it, and there's a little cymbal, it's all just crappy plastic, and missing one of the drumsticks, so I used a pencil. And suddenly he's down there and he's just like, ka-dink, and all of a sudden he just starts killing that little tiny kit. And I'm like, this could be an avenue. Yeah. Maybe. God, don't be a musician because you'll spend your whole life, working in a second job. But I mean, I want him to do whatever that is. Yeah. So I don't know how to plant those seeds other than just like, okay, it's probably
letting him explore is the way to do it.
Yeah. But don't tell him it's stupid or don't be wasting your time on that. Because that's what I got told.
I hate dream killers, man. That pisses me off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the skateboarding thing, like, both of my parents are like, you got to be kidding me. And I was like, yeah, I'm kidding you.
Dude, my 4-year-old's into unicorns right now. Like, and I got to fucking tell you, there's some part of me, the old part, there's like this part of me that definitely an 80s kid that wants to be like, now, boys don't fuck with unicorns. Or, we don't do unicorns, bro. And you're not wearing a unicorn shirt, and I'm not listening to Unicorn Blippy with my convertible top down while we're driving, right? There's some part of me that says that. And then there's another part of me that's like, to myself, self-talk. And I don't mean this in a derogatory sense. It's just how I talk to myself. Like, hey, listen, Daniel, don't be a little bitch. Doesn't matter what everybody else around you thinks. I don't care if other people hear me listen to Unicorn Blippy. My son wants to listen to it. Exactly. I'm going to fucking turn it all the way up, and we're going to listen to it. And if I got to wear a unicorn shirt, that's what I'm going to do. So, like, but I don't want to be a dream killer. So, like, if that's what he's interested in.
It'll be dinosaurs next week, dude.
Oh, yeah, it's cool. But, I mean, that's the point. Like, fine, let's do it. You wanna listen to a unicorn song? Let's do it, man. Like, you want to be a classical pianist? Great. You want to be a ballerina? Great. You want to be a chemist or a nuclear engineer? You want to be the president? I don't care. My job is not to dictate what you do. My job is to try and be supportive and
get his back.
Yeah, and to try and
help encourage him do what
encourage you. Like I think of myself not as the trampoline, but as the net. Right? Like my job is just to keep him from falling off. Right? Like he's gonna fall. He can.
I like that.
That's good analogy.
I like that.
He can still get hurt. Right? I'm just trying to limit it. I'm just trying to be a little bit of a safety net. Right? That he can play anywhere in between he wants, right? So, like, that's what I try to do. I cannot stand somebody that kills a child's dream or even
tries
adults,
to push
man.
him in a certain direction.
Yeah, man.
Again, it goes back to your wiring we were talking about before. Yeah. If he's wired that way, he's wired that way. I mean, if this kid wants to, be the best dancer
Yeah.
You know, I mean, knock Usher off too, man. Knock them all off.
Oh man, if he can knock off, I was gonna say, you were saying Michael Jackson. I was like, well, you know, Usher, man. What about you? You should put him on some Usher. But have you seen?
I told him. I said Usher.
Usher dancing in the rain. You got it bad, and he's
see.
like dancing and it's raining and simulated, and he's got his Timberland boots on. Like that's what I go to. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like if he can do that. That's not. I mean, the moon.
I'm trying to get him on some Prince, but he still ain't biting yet.
Have you got him to Usher yet?
Well, that's what I told him. I was like, Usher's fronting.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm kind of in a weird way. Well, let's just say, I'm glad he's into '80s Michael.
Right.
Let's leave it in '80s Michael. Everything else, you know.
Yeah.
Now don't look at that. But.
Now, you know, just a tangent here, but another strong dancer, Chris Brown. You know, and you just gotta be selective about which ones you're listening to. But if you watch some of his dance music videos, like he's actually a talented dancer. So
Yeah.
you know, and he's getting up there in age. And I saw something he did last week that was still very impressive.
Well, then it's another thing too is like he's starting puberty.
Is he taking any jazz dance classes?
Well, no, he hasn't taken any dance classes at all.
That would be good, probably.
He's watched everything Michael's done.
Yeah.
And he's sticking it.
That's awesome.
Like he memorizes the music video and the moves through the music video.
That's
and
awesome.
Now, and now his sister, who's his sister is his adopted mother. It's a weird situation, but anyway, his sister adopted him.
Yeah.
She's gonna get him the Wii with the Wii dance on there.
I like it.
And I'm not. I will probably end up dancing with the boy.
You definitely need to, yeah.
You know, and here's the thing, like, you know, he's like, you can't dance. I was like, I can dance, man. I can squash you. I was like, just looking at me, I can dance, I can sing. You know, I'm amazing. We hadn't done karaoke yet.
That's funny.
But, you know, him and I, like, we'll be passing it off to each other. And he's like, yeah, you just know how to do the robot. That's all. It's just because you grew up in the 80s. I'm like, yeah, anybody from the 80s know how to do the robot.
Yeah. That's funny. I like to play the drums a little bit at the house. I'm not good at it. I just enjoy it. You know, it's just a creative outlet. My daughter likes it. She takes music lessons. She's 4. And I told her the other day, I was like, if you keep taking music lessons, you'll be better than your daddy at the drums by the time you're 6. and so she enjoys it though. She can keep a beat.
So, and I hate to backwards real quick, but
okay.
does your son, does he have a drum set, an official drum set yet?
No, he doesn't. I'm waiting on him to ask for it.
Well, you don't have to wait if you want.
Got one?
I would love to give you a drum set, man.
Shut the front door.
Seriously.
Okay, well, we'll talk about this. Let's see what he does, because of course, you know, if there's a drum set, it's going to be at my house.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But he would lose his mind. He would lose.
Let me know,
mind.
man. Let me know. Reach back out. Definitely. Let me know.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you, brother. Oh,
Yeah. That's something that I'm trying to do.
If you give him that, I want you to see his face.
Definitely.
I want him to see you. I want you to see how grateful this kid is. Like, he's changed everything around my world. I didn't even know.
Just something I've been thinking a lot about. I don't want to say a lot of things. It's relative, but I do things. I just don't talk about them. But I'm starting to do it more. But one of the things I've been doing is trying to give kids instruments. Right, like if they have like, oh, they want a guitar. I'm trying to do that. That's something that I'm interested in doing. But love to give them a drum set.
Well, he asked me. He goes, "Would you play instruments with me?" And I have a bass, and I used to play it a long time ago. And I was like, if he picks up the drums, I'll pick up the bass, and we'll jam together. And this is what I was telling. Because the boys from Black Label Society, you know, I mention him all the time. So they started asking me questions about him. It's like, what, he wants to play drums for real? And the guy, Jeff, was like, yeah, man, get him into drums. And I was like, yeah, you know, it would be the coolest thing is if I started playing bass and he started playing drums. And then he fired me for somebody who could play bass well. I was like, that'd be one of my dreams for my boy to just fire me and say, look,
Dad,
Matt.
you suck.
Dad, you're not going to make the cut.
He still wondered. It's funny too, because like he still calls me Matt and stuff like that. He goes, but it would be all right to call you Dad, and I was like, yeah, you can. But he calls my mom Nana, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, that's what I want. I want him to be like, listen, Matt, can you maybe just manage this? Yeah, I'll manage. I'll play backup, you know, in case homeboy's sick or something. But if he sat down and did something like that and actually started making something, that would blow my mind.
Have you taken him? And it's very limited right now. But have you done any live music or anything?
That was okay. So let's see. He's, you know, I've listened to a lot of stuff, but I like metal.
Yeah.
I used to have metal hair before I was bald. But you know, he got into Wolfmother, and so Primus, The Sword, and Wolfmother were on that tour, and there were 2 venues that were close to here, and I was gonna take him to his first live show, and you know, that got all kiboshed because of COVID. but they reestablished it and they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to start him.
Now they're
starting
booked.
with that.
If I'm not mistaken, it's early 2022. But have you seen the dates or anything or no? Cause
Yeah, I've seen the dates. They're in August.
of this year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In September.
Wow.
And then
so in
Black
this,
Label's going on tour again starting in August.
Really? So that means there's updates because when I was looking, we were looking like in this. There's a bunch of stuff that we had booked that was supposed to be the COVID year, the year,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck that year,
That
2020,
shitty last
that
year.
shitty
Yeah.
last year. But most of the stuff that I was watching is booked early 2022. But I'm glad to see they're moving it to August. That's awesome.
Yeah, the August, September, I think that was the idea, and I hope because, one, like, those, like I said, those guys from Black Label Society are so nice that I don't even think of them as rockers. I just think of them as nice guys, and I want them
Yeah.
to be able to tour because it's driving them nuts. They're musicians.
Yeah.
And so, like, when they're saying that, like, I wanted that for them. And, in the middle of it, just want it back for me, too, because love live music, dude.
100%.
I've seen so many bands over so many years, and I miss it. I miss standing there. Just,
Yeah, dude.
it's still in me. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be 80 years old, like, it's killer. But still liking it.
That's
But it's you can't shake it. I mean, if you love live music, there's nothing like it. You
Yeah.
get once you hear a song you love, and suddenly you get the goosebumps or whatever. And he's got to know that. But I want to take him to his first live metal show.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. All right, so what grade was this? I think I moved here in 5th grade. Andy Wilburn, 5th grade. Like there was this singing thing, right, for school. I don't know what the fuck.
Like a
they
talent
call it.
show?
Little talent shows or little thing. Like maybe it was like a show that we were supposed to perform. And I remember like I was supposed to rap/sing this line, never done it before. I got the part just because they give you parts, right? And I remember like doing it, and I just did terrible. I didn't prepare for one, but secondly, just did terrible. And I remember Andy Wilburn comes up and crushes it. I was like, fuck. But he just did awesome, right? And little did I know, I'm pretty sure Andy, and this has been a long time, but I'm pretty sure Andy's older brother was in a band, and it's obviously some level of influence. And then what ended up becoming a friend of mine, Brian Gallimore, local guy, he was on the drums, basically met him in middle school. So fast forward years later, and we're in Mooresville at this at basically a bar. There's some live music going on. I think this was like 2009 or 10, and it's Andy singing like and performing, right, and just killing it. Maybe playing guitar too, and Brian playing the drums. And I think it was just like, I don't know that they had these big aspirations or dreams. I have no clue, but it was actually really, really, really good. And I was just like, I felt less bad at that moment that I got crushed in 5th grade by Andy, but it was just cool. But it was cool to see. So Brian Gallimore's mom, Vicky, owns HR. Vicky and HR, they own Remax in Asheboro, Randolph County. And Brian's their son, and he's actually, I think, a licensed attorney, but also still a broker. But
does he still play?
I think he does still play, but
His name sounds familiar, and I don't know why.
yeah, but awesome drummer. So yeah, that's what I think about is like the influence of music in people's lives. And you say, well, if he's going to be a musician, he's going to have a second job. I know a lot of musicians that have like real, we'll call it real, air quotes, real jobs, right? But they're still musicians, and sometimes it's the ones you'd never guess it. Like,
I mean, my friend John Walker he's got a PhD, and he works for the EPA. And he's math-minded, and he was one of the most technical drummers. I mean, the man's insanely good, and I haven't talked to him in a while. He may still be in a band, but yeah, like I mean, when in the '90s we're going to see everybody or whatever, and we go see those guys play. And John, you put him in front of a kit, man, he can't help but destroy it.
Is it one of the guys from Tool that's a physicist?
I don't know.
Do you know who it is?
I know it's not Maynard.
There's a guy, maybe. I know there's a guy that worked for Stan Winston.
I think it's a
for
drummer.
his Effects, maybe. Yeah. I know the drummer has his drums arranged or used to like a pentagram, and he'd do like weird shit that way. But anyway.
There's a
Metal and the Devil.
one of the big bands. One of their musicians is a physicist.
Wait, wasn't there like one of the guys, like the guitarist from Queen, was like a
He was,
like
he was brilliant.
Astrophysicist or
Maybe
some
that's
shit
him.
like
Maybe
that?
that's what I'm thinking
That's the
about.
guy from Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
But I mean, just because you're a musician, you can't be brilliant as, I mean, what was Novoselic doing? I mean, he's
Well, art and science are kind of they're related.
well, the music and
ways.
math are
Well, yeah.
definitely friends.
Oh,
sure,
one of
yeah.
the main people in Bad Religion is a professor. Like, crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you seen those guys lately?
No.
It's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Well, because they're Bad Religion, they're still Bad Religion, but they're just old guys.
It still sounds good.
But their guitarist, or one of their guitarists, he's like a smaller dude, and he's still got his hair, and it's all slicked back. But he looks like, when I saw him, he looked like the most responsible one. Like the little guy with the switchblade. Like, come on, you fucking bastards, we got a show. Quit screwing around. Are you still drinking? You're 55 years old. What's your problem? But that's what, like, you could tell he was just like the pusher or whatever. It was funny to see him because I was like, wow, the last time I saw Bad Religion, I was 17.
Right.
And this was 2 years ago. And I'm like,
wow.
and all of them are still alive.
That's funny.
Where are we
So
at?
what? How did COVID affect you?
Well, I had saved a chunk of cash to buy a car, and then I had to live off of it. But that's the thing that's still making me mad about COVID. But I didn't want to get broken by it,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to have to survive off anybody else. And the day that the shutdown happened, I lost like 17 grand in bookings. So
wow.
just whoa. And then everything just got stopped.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a guy who enjoys my gaming time. I still game. I love to game, always have. And I basically set up a structure. I would start my day with 2 hours of gaming. I'd get up at like 8:30. It's COVID, maybe 9.
Right.
And I would game, and I was listening to people and the mental state of everything, and how everybody was like, what am I going to do with my life? And I'm like, dude, there's so much shit that I haven't done that if I've got 4 months off, I'm going to get it all done. Like, I remodeled the truck. There's all this stuff that I hadn't done.
Yeah.
That just, stuff you try to do on the weekends. So I just started attacking that. And in the evenings, like when I got done, I'd get up, I'd game, I'd do my mat work, the things that I should be doing.
Yeah.
And then I'd go skate. And then when I got home, I would chill. But when I got into this mode, suddenly when I got home, I was like, wait, there's still some time to do stuff. And I haven't painted in years. So I did through COVID, I think I did 7 pieces.
Nice.
And I did 3 Thrasher intros for, they haven't, I've sent them to them. They haven't used them yet. But,
Yeah.
I was just like, let me do this with my spare time because, don't waste the creative time.
Yeah.
Don't waste the time sitting here. And then I got into just learning as much as possible while I was doing the menial tasks. So I put, some kind of historical doc on the phone, go work on the truck, or go, paint the porches, or remodel this bit, or remodel the part of the driveway that had been putting off, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So just dumping information in, and I just sort of got into this routine. But, COVID didn't drop me.
That's good.
And I never got depressed. I never got any of that kind of stuff because there was still a lot of things to do.
Have you been able to salvage some of your jobs that you had to cancel?
Oh yeah, no,
That's good.
everybody, like it was bad until mid-July, and then a buddy of mine was doing a passion project with no pay, but he got a group, the Mack truck group that we were working together with, was just a bunch of friends, and we became road fam when we were doing.
Right.
In 2019 when we were doing Mack truck, because we'd be out on the road for a week and a half, and we were each other's family.
Yeah.
So it was a reason to get us all back together. And my buddy Josh Fox talked to my friend Sarah Kalutis and my buddy Ted and my friend Michael, and they just sort of put it back together. And so we went and did that. And then right after that was done, stuff started to pick up, and then it was insanity from August to December because everybody was trying to fill in for everything.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so it was just straight balls to the wall, almost too much, like, huh.
Yeah.
But
Trying to catch up.
Yeah, and it's been a little weird this year, but I mean, it's getting
It's
better.
looking a lot better now. Yeah.
I just wish that I would give this hand, or hell, you could take the arm, if people would just stop gnashing at one another. And just, I thought with the COVID and the way everything was and the election and all this turmoil and the, just all of the stuff that was happening, that at the end of it, people would learn to be nicer to each other instead of just being so separated and so acidic.
So divisive, yeah.
And you know, here the filmmaker, dreamer Matt was like, well, yeah, you know, we'll get on the other side of it and we'll all learn and everybody will hug.
It's calming down
And-
a little bit. I think
Yeah.
after the pandemic's done, it'll definitely be much more normal. But
But I thought it was going to be the opposite.
I
thought
think it's
that we're going to be so mean.
well. I mean, a lot of it's got to do with the two-party system in this
Yeah.
country. It's a problem anyway. I don't like political parties, but you know, I feel like also it's we have access to so much information,
Yeah.
and people. It's so recent, you know. It's all this has developed over the past 20 years or so. This instant access to information. So now we're trying to learn how to sift through it all, and I think that's, you know, it's just a process.
Yeah.
I think the younger generations will handle it much better, just because it's so big. You know, it's what they're used to. You know, it's just a natural part of their life,
Yeah.
their experience.
I don't want them to be weak. Some of them did just adopt this idea, like, what am I supposed to do?
Right. Yeah.
And you know, I still keep up with a lot of my students and stuff like that, and I'm watching them go through their, you know, because I hadn't had students for a while, so you know they're exiting their 20s
Yeah. Yeah.
now. But I always keep an eye on them and, you know, try to send a little something
Well, I
out
think
there
the
if
arts
they're hating
are a
it.
good place to be for young people because, you know, with technology, a lot of your regular jobs and entry level jobs are going to be replaced with AI and robotics.
Well, I think a lot of people are kind of panicked on that. Like, what's my future
It's a-
supposed to be?
it's a big deal. Yeah.
Where am I supposed to lock in? Because they're taking this away and that away. And
The creative fields are for sure a good place to go if you're a young
creative
person.
fields and trade jobs.
Yeah.
'Cause, you
Well,
know,
a lot of trades will be replaced with
well, there's a
robotics
lot of
and
people
AI.
that don't know how to use power tools.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's true.
learn to use power tools. if your grandpa didn't pay attention or your dad, just go to YouTube. And,
Well, they're
Somebody's grandpa or dad
They're
could.
3D printing houses now. So,
oh, dude.
you know.
When you remember when 3D printing came out and
Yeah.
the first time you saw it and you're just like, you gotta be,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. And then you saw like a buddy of mine does drones and he 3D prints all of the pieces parts and I'm just
Yeah.
like, God, I miss this
incredible.
boat.
Well, there's a company that's 3D printing organs now, and they'll
You mean like Fifth Element?
yeah, yes.
Shut the
That's
front door.
Same thing. They can take it's one of George Church's companies, I believe, but they'll take they're 3D printing like mouse size organs right now, but they can take the DNA from the animal or take cells from the animal, and then they 3D print an organ from that animal's tissue. So there's no rejection of the
Wow,
of the
you
organ.
just
And-
blew my mind. I love the
yeah,
future.
It's incredible. Yeah, so they expect to have this stuff on the market within the next decade.
Well, something interesting. I don't know if you ever saw the series Mars on Netflix. It gets a little kooky, but one of the cool things they were talking about was using the resources there and then 3D printing the stuff that's needed once they're there.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of shipping it all to Mars. And I was
Sure.
like, whoa. But it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And I guess all you have to do is just find X number of minerals and what have yous and
I'm sure there's tons of resources there.
tons of resources, and then just commence to 3D printing.
Wow.
Which, I mean, that you know, in the sci-fi guy, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I still want to go to Mars, or at least have my ashes spread across Mars.
I'm excited to see the technological advances that happen over the next 20 years because it's going to be incredible. Like
This damn thing,
oh, it's amazing.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
holy cats.
But I don't think it's anything compared to what there will be in 10 years or 20 years.
What's that sticker, by the way? Does that say Thriller?
Thrasher.
The boy
Thriller,
got
yeah.
a pack of Michael Jackson stickers, and Thriller is on my phone.
Hey.
Now you can still see he's got the Independent on there. That's still me, and then the low card. But yeah, he's got one on his phone too.
Hey.
But I also thought it was hilarious.
That is.
Yeah.
That is. I like that.
That's cool. I like Michael Jackson. He's an incredible artist. Don't like him as an individual, but
Like
brilliant artist though.
yeah, there was like you
Love his
can't
music.
shake. Yeah, you can't shake how good. Like Off the Wall and Thriller are amazing
Yeah.
albums, and I don't even like him past Thriller because I like that whole like that big band sound
The
on Off the
80s
Wall.
era.
Yeah, it's just cool. I didn't like the electronic sound for Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about Michael Jackson. No one's brought up the Peter Pan room. Nothing. You know.
Yeah.
One of I don't want to steal his jokes or anything like that. I couldn't even if I wanted to. But one of the comedians that we know has a joke about.
I'll be careful
about things. But yeah, I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, about Michael Jackson. But it's almost PC but dark. But about it, yeah. But it's a good little bit. But yeah, that's what I think now. Unfortunately, because I think Michael Jackson was very talented.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And I don't have to agree with his personal decisions in his life to acknowledge he was a talented person.
Oh, the boy and I've talked about that in depth. I mean, I'm basically Chappelle is. I think like Chappelle, and I admire Chappelle, but
I do too. I like
his
him.
perspectives. You've seen Sticks and Stones.
Oh yeah.
He's a
And that's
funny dude.
kind of where my head is at.
Probably a few times actually.
Oh yeah.
It's good special.
Yeah.
Well, I still can't believe they, Rotten Tomatoes just zeroed him out.
Oh, yeah.
I watched it after all that crap, and I've always been a firm believer in the Chappelle approach. Like it blows my mind how, like, in the early 2000s, we were making films back then, and everybody loved Chappelle's show, and so we were setting one up, and we were done, and everybody's balls tired, and everybody's sitting in my living room, and there's like 15 people in there, and there's like 2 Hispanic dudes, one Hispanic chick, a couple of black people, and the rest white people, but we're all watching Chappelle, and we're all laughing at it, and then we suddenly realize we're laughing at each other.
Yeah.
And we're laughing at each other's differences.
That's right.
And my man Ace was sitting next to me, and something happened on Chappelle's show, and he starts laughing. He goes, "Y'all do that," and I'm like, "I know." He's like, "Why do y'all do that?" I was like, "I don't know."
It's that cracker ass shit.
But it was funny, and we recognized each other's differences, and we
That's
just
right.
perpetuated on like nothing.
Yeah.
And I felt like, and this is just my opinion only, but I felt like Chappelle did more for race relations in his smart ass shit than
Yeah.
a lot of people had done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you read the manifesto. I don't want to go down the Chappelle hole here,
Yeah.
but I believe in Chappelle,
Well,
and I
stand-up
believe in his
comedy-
perspective.
Stand-up comedy is important for society as far as
Oh man,
making us
Yeah.
not take ourselves too seriously, and also to sometimes people get so caught up in certain ideologies that it's almost like a religion, and you need someone to tear that apart, to break that apart and show that like anything that's too extreme or too far one way or the other is kind of ridiculous. Like
Well,
we
don't have anybody
we're
to
all
check
the same
anymore.
thing. All people are the same.
Well, Trey Parker and Matt Stone do a
Species.
great job of it. They just call out the turds,
Yeah.
or they call out the bullshit, and they're great at it.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, I'm bummed right now. Like, if they cancel, like, I watched the vaccination special. Have you seen it?
It's funny, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's breaking my heart at the end, man.
Yeah.
Where they're like splitting up. I'm just like, what? Spoilers. I'm like, no, I need you guys. Damn it, please, just don't go.
Yeah.
Like, I need it because, like, I think like them in a way, and I get it. But they've also, they've offended me before.
Yeah.
But no one is safe, right? But I've always, that's always come back. And like Chappelle can offend the hell out of a lot of people, but you got to hear what he's got to say at the end.
Right, yeah. And
Yeah.
the other way around,
And
too.
he's right, man.
It's good to be
I like being offended.
it's
Actually,
good to be offended. It helps you
Yeah.
check your perspective.
Yeah.
right. If you get called out on something,
And
then
also,
you gotta pause.
when you see extreme ideologies in society or things pushing really hard in a certain direction, usually it's just a balance. It's just it's pulling things back to the middle.
Yeah.
So it's there's always a balancing act.
And this is not a join aside thing, but when I see, I don't know, 60, 70, 80%, 90% of a society, a group, a team, a room, all push one way, I kind of sit back and go, wait a second, what's going on here? Like what? Like I automatically start to push against them without even knowing, like just without even knowing what's going on. Like, wait a
Right.
second. And I feel like that's like part of liking to be offended. Like if you're not being offended, you're not around people. To me, you're not living your life. You're not around people that are real people. Like you're in a fucking vacuum of what's it called?
Like a
Tunnel,
Echo chamber.
of,
Yeah.
of just your own beliefs and people that are too scared to. Like I don't like that at all. I start to get.
It became painfully obvious how many people live in that world over 2020.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean,
Well, people were kind of forced into those situations during 2020.
yeah. And
Some
then
people embraced
pop
it.
your bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it pops and you realize that it pops, boy, it's a shock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, whoa. Or that, as soon as that door is opened or, you realize something or whatever.
Right,
on the Chappelle thing, when he was talking about being on the show and they told him he couldn't say certain words, but he could say certain other words. And
I think that's a funny bit, by the way.
Oh,
it's true,
but
which
when-
makes it even more
but
funny.
when he
but-
says that line to his producer or
Yeah.
whatever, you're like,
Yeah.
shit, Dave.
yeah,
Wow. Way to knock it out of just so far out of the park, it's in the parking lot, because
Yeah.
everybody.
that
you know,
line. I know exactly where you're talking. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And you did it. You're just like, damn, dude, go.
yeah,
Go.
Yeah,
Thank God someone, because a lot of people say certain things like that. You're canceled. Your ass
yeah,
is
yeah.
gone.
Oh yeah,
You got to be in a position like Chappelle to have
Right.
that
Yeah.
to have the right to do it. And
Yeah.
he, Sticks and Stones, I thought it was going to be the end of him, but I watched and I was like, no, he's getting better than ever.
yeah.
He's and then I don't know if you watched the special he did, and it was the one where it wasn't really a comedy special. It was him spoken word. I think it was 846.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like at the end of it, I was just like, I felt cold.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine's like, you need to watch this.
Is this the one where they had the crowd there was like 12 people or something? Is that one? Or is that
Well,
this?
he had it on his land
It
or
was not
somewhere
really-
close
Yeah,
to
yeah,
his
yeah.
house.
It was really just, this was him talking. Well,
It's not really a comedy special.
No, it's,
Yeah.
you're talking about the one where he's. Is this the one where he's on the stage and there's like he's made like a little stage on his land
Yeah,
and there's
that's
maybe
it.
like
Yep.
a very limited amount of
Yeah.
people and
Yep.
he's just talking?
yeah,
That's I know exactly what you're talking about.
He
yeah.
did another one after that about them using the Chappelle show on was it Netflix or something,
Oh yeah, and him not getting any.
and him saying not
It's
to watch it.
Viacom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they actually took it down.
Netflix was.
I think
good about
they
it.
I think they gave him royalties to it.
Yeah, it's renegotiated now.
Yeah,
It's back on.
that's
So
what
I
he
thought,
got
yeah.
his money, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. Man.
I mean, now
Big move.
I can't stand when artists aren't getting their money either. Like that's
Right.
kind of fucked
Oh,
up too.
yeah.
So I don't like that either.
No.
Musicians.
Yeah.
I don't even. I don't know if you know Tribe Called Quest,
Oh yeah,
but it was they got an unbelievably low amount for the last album they did, and they're like, let's just pull the cord, dude.
wow.
And it was just basically they're just getting hosed.
Yeah.
And then when you're Timberland Magoo, any of those guys. I worked on a music video for those guys.
I know
and-
Timberland.
Yeah, and there was a young kid that was part of the group or whatever, and then he was getting his check. We're getting his points, right? And he was talking about how he got X number of points. And I'd heard this conversation over and over and over again. And he was talking about how this, that, and was going to happen. I was like, man, you need to hang on to that money.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but we're right. I mean, we're at the top of the wave right now. I was like, but the wave crashes, dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know
Yeah.
I'm not a musician. I'm just a guy helping light shit. But I mean, I've seen you before,
Yeah.
many times before. And I was like, I know that they were riding around in an Escalade or something. I was like, I know you want this car, and I know you dropped that check on it. But dude, there's no promise for another check.
That's
That's
right.
that's what you learn from losses. You learn
Yeah.
that life is not all mountains. There are big valleys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to position yourself to make it through the valley
And there's
you get to another
caves
peak.
under the valleys
Yeah,
too.
man.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree
But if you
with
can
that.
make it through the valleys, and there'll be another peak
Yeah.
that you have to prepare.
Hopefully, you can build something up there and just stay.
Yeah.
That's why I guess old people get weird and move into the mountains. 'Cause stay up there.
Yeah.
Well, I think as you become older, especially, and this should be the way it is let's say you've got something. Listen, if you don't have anything to risk, like if there's no risk of loss, like you don't have anything, then you should be all in all the time. I don't care if you're 70. If you still got a pat, you should
Right.
chase it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're 70 and it's the reverse, if you already live on the mountain, you got a real problem, because if you were to lose it, if you were to go to the valley, you don't have the time necessary.
Stop making all these good points.
Yeah, you just don't have the time necessary to recover.
Yeah.
But
I think at that time you should be focused on teaching someone else.
yeah, I think
At
you
that
just got to
age.
shift. But
Yeah.
Go the guru status on
like
that.
you, man. When I
Yeah.
look at you, though, I could put you very easily. Very easily. I know guys in their late 30s that look similar to you. I know guys that are in their early 40s look similar to you.
Yeah.
And I think like you've got a younger son. I think the way you live your lifestyle. I think the skateboarding. I think things like you're an energetic guy. Like to me, you got a solid. I think with technology, this even grows. But I think you got a solid decade, 2 decades of you need to get out there and just fucking grind. But at some point, like you said, it's got to flip, right? You go hide in the mountains. I don't know if that's what you do, but at some point you got to be a little bit more conservative. But you're not there yet. Like it's not even really an age
Yeah.
It's like this mental state that you're in. It's the individual that you are. You're just not there. It's not time to go into conservation mode. You still got a lot of work to accomplish, right?
My friend Brad is in the same profession since he left college, and he's going to be able to like retire this year.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that because he's younger than I am.
Yeah.
It's just I can't.
I know he's probably
I'm
a good friend,
working.
but just fuck Brad though. Fuck Brad. Like in a nice sense, like your best friend, be like fuck you, bro. But like let him retire. That's fine. What he's really going to figure out is he's going to have to find another passion to chase, right?
Oh,
He'll
I
crush
guarantee you, the first year he's retired, there'll be a brand new porch, a brand new fence.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And he'll
Yeah.
have sheds
Yeah, yeah.
out back, and he'll still be losing his mind.
That's what you got to do.
He'll go off into something else.
I
He'll
don't
be like
plan
my
to ever
dad.
retire.
Yeah, man. My family, like you retire when you die.
That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
You
there's,
gotta
I mean,
have
if you're
something.
a creative field, I can take my
Or
last
you
breath
die
at the
when
editor.
you retire.
Yeah, exactly. That's because what happens
That's
is
usually what happens.
You retire. Like I feel like that's what happens. Like you're like, okay, I'm not going to do anything, and then you die.
Yeah, if you're not stimulating your brain, then
Yeah.
your brain will die.
Well, that's what I'll go back to Vic Coffin, or I should say Kiyoshi, but his number one thing is you stop moving, you die.
Yeah.
And I believe that. And the thing that scares me is, I'm going to have an injury eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this for 2 decades, where I'm not going to be able to skate anymore, and I'm going to have to find another oasis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll probably be guitar. Or
'Kay,
something.
now-
I'll go back to karate.
I got to ask you
probably.
though, have you ever tried I can't remember, they're one wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
All these electric things.
Can you go from skateboarding to something like that? Can you go something that's less skateboard, or would you have the same effect or no?
That'd be
Okay. Now all of that extra stuff we see as blasphemous.
Ah, okay. See, I'm not a skateboarder.
I'm
so
a purist skateboarder all
fair
day
enough.
long. If you're sitting there with your Vans on and you're walking around with your longboard and your hip sack calling me brah, I don't like you. If you got a scooter, that's your problem.
Yeah.
I mean, if my friend Michael McQueen is a BMXer, and I mean, I hated BMXers up until I only learned to accept them through my friendship with Michael. Like I was that much of a purist. But I've tried them.
Yeah.
And you can. Like snowboarding is not the same as skateboarding, but I picked it up.
Yeah.
I was on one of those that was rigged the other way, so I had to ride it switch. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Of all that stuff, the electric board where it's just it's electric powered board and you can just haul ass on it. I do love those.
It looks fun.
And it has to be the shape of a normal board. I don't like the penny boards or the long boards or anything like
I like
that.
the one with the tire in the middle.
I got to
of
be
it.
able to ollie it. I've ridden that one,
That's
but
a
no,
cool-
just the
yeah.
4-wheel one, regular
Yeah.
skateboard.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, those
and the
are cool too,
batteries
yeah.
in the center.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. Yeah. That one too. Yeah.
Now I can tear off. Those are fun as shit.
Yeah.
I just don't. They're $500, and I can't find
The knobbies.
They stopped making the one that was the regular skateboard shape because if I'm going to have one, I got to be able to ollie up a curve.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes sense.
But if I get one now though, the boy's going to have one too, so I'm going to have to drop $1,000.
Hey.
And here's the thing about kid, like again, never thought I'd have a kid even remotely in my life, but like money doesn't mean shit when he's around.
Yeah.
Like it's his face, his happiness.
I agree.
The fact that he and I can roll together.
That's cool.
It's got to be that way.
It's an experience
Yeah.
too. You got something you guys are living your life together. That's cool.
Yeah. And once I got a bike for the knees, the boy didn't have a bike down here at my house, so now we went and picked out his bike, and to the little turkey's credit, he used his Christmas money and some money off of a gig that I brought him on. He paid for it with his own cash.
I
I'm
like it.
My dog.
Hey.
That's good.
He's still learning, but
Hey, he's 12.
yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah, it's a good start.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. What projects do you have coming up?
Well, I'm waiting to see what the Fast Society does. We just finished the pilot, and it's pretty cool to get asked to direct an EP that one. But there's no promises with anything like that. So if
Yeah.
that is the next thing, then boom, we'll hop on that. If they do another season of Toy Makers, I'll hop on that, and that's definitely a good ride. But as it stands right now, I'm waiting on Tracy to get back in town because we're supposed to do another music video. But the music video stuff, it'll always happen. I just sort of sit back and wait.
Yeah.
And then the rest is just projects. It's just whatever pops up and whatever people call for. I mean,
Right,
me
yeah.
personally, I don't know how much of the skateboarding time's left. I'm really just trying to do as much skating this summer as I can.
Yeah.
Try to keep it maintained. And there's a project that I was talking about that the next film that I do when I decide to do it, I'll hop on that, but I've got to have the cash lined up.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
gotta have
off
everybody
camera another day
needed.
when we got some time. You started talking about earlier when you had stepped out for a moment. I'd love to pick up on that conversation, but
Yeah.
so because we about projects and funding and things
Yeah.
like that. So because that's all we do is look for, not necessarily in this industry, but that's all we do is look for businesses and opportunities and solve problems. Like that's
We want to start producing some stuff though. So.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a buddy that I met when we were doing Josh Fox's project, and they do those rock hopper cars, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he has 10 events in a season, which would make a 10 episode series, and you only have to do one.
Yeah.
But you just have to show the races that they're doing, and that's the one guy. Like, if we could just figure it out,
Yeah.
on the car stuff that I've worked on, if we could figure that guy out.
I got one. I got an idea. I can't say it on air. We'll have to talk about it. We've talked about it. And I don't know who the right person is to do it, but I've got one, and I've got the guy that, and I think it's for a reality series,
Yeah.
and I think honestly think it'll do really, really well.
Reality series,
And there's
don't
nothing
have to
like
be
it that I know
corny.
of.
They don't have to be weird. I mean, some of the best reality series are the ones that are just the information, and you're just
More
watching
docu-style.
what
Yeah.
occurs. Like Deadliest Catch. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember how amazing the
was a
first
good
two
show, yeah.
seasons were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're just watching what goes on. That's more interesting.
Yeah, I have
than
no interest in
trying
that,
to
but I've
make
watched a few
story.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no interest in that type of stuff,
So-
but it's just interesting content to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Doing Da Vinci? They didn't even make it a
haven't
whole
seen
season. They were just taking Da Vinci's inventions and making them.
Yeah.
And I was just
Oh,
like,
okay.
this is cool as shit. But Honey Boo Boo gets all the
Yeah.
ratings and stuff like that, which I never understood. Like,
Yeah, me neither.
Like, I don't see how you can watch Real Housewives of whatever.
Yeah.
It almost makes
Or-
me lose some hope in humanity when
Well,
I see
it-
stuff like that.
You know how many divorces came from all the Real Housewives episodes?
I
Like all
have
those
no idea.
Bro,
but-
man, it's like if you, I don't watch that stuff, but I remember like having a conversation about this about a year ago, and like it's just like this never ending. Like you can look at the cast and see divorce, because like some shit just shouldn't be.
Well, the-
Public, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Just
you
stressful,
shouldn't
too.
make, what is
Yeah.
it, the 15 and pregnant?
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, my
Come
god.
on,
that's
man.
horrible.
Really?
Yeah, really. Yeah,
There's
I
a
agree.
lot of
Very
those.
exploitive. Yeah.
And
I
there's
agree.
people that watch that
Hey.
stuff who are like, I love it. I can't get enough of it. And I'm like, how can you watch just that fire burn?
And I don't even want to be the one to point this out, but many of those girls ended up getting deals in the adult industry after
was
the
gonna
fact
say, it's like,
when they were 18. I'm telling you, like literally, and I don't want to get down this rabbit hole, but I have a friend that very much watched those, and he, a buddy, I don't know if it was his friend, a loosely related friend, like that said, oh well, this one got this deal with this, and you can watch on this channel. Like he knows that like a bunch of those girls ended up getting basically adult industry deals when they turn 18,
Yeah, I
which
was gonna say they could have titled that show "The Making of Adult Entertainers"
Yeah,
or
man.
something.
See, I block those parts of life out.
Right,
Like, I don't
yeah.
go very far. And if I hear something like that, I'm like, eh.
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I get with. I'm like, I don't know, but
Yeah, don't.
so
That's fun. It's funny. It's
I was-
sad.
I was
but it's
just
fun. Well,
having
I
a
don't know.
conversation earlier about I really want a daughter. Like, and I know I'm being selfish. I've got 3 sons, amazing boys. Their mother, Jessica's an amazing mother. Like, I really haven't made when it comes to that because I get to come in and be hero dad for like a really short period of time because I work all the time. And then, but like I selfishly want a daughter. Like I really, my plan when I was 17, and I agreed with this, was 4 kids, 3 boys. We picked their names, and then the 4th child was going to be a daughter. I don't have a daughter. I feel like something's missing in my life. I've been feeling like this for a long time. And my life is chaotic right now, so it makes no sense. That being said, like I really want a daughter. And so I was having this conversation earlier today, and I was just like, I was thinking about some of these like gymnastic dance / craziness that happens with these really young girls, these movies that get, and I was just like, if I don't have a daughter, I don't have any skin in the game, right? I don't have a dog in the show. But at the same point, I'm like, I don't know that I could subject my daughter to some of these things, right? Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
I don't think a child should be objectified in that way.
Yeah.
And if they
Yeah, let them get to 18.
I mean, if an adult chooses to do something, that's a different thing,
Right.
right?
Or maybe like in their
I mean, even
mid teenage years.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
so like for me, for
Well,
adult doesn't
sure.
necessarily mean 18 either. Like,
Right, yeah.
Like my son, my 10-year-old, when he's 13-ish, like I got to be honest with you, I'm not Jewish, but I got the Jewish approach. At 13, you're an adult as a male. On some level, I don't mean adult like that. I mean like I'm gonna start letting you have a more active role in your decisions.
Right.
Like if Daniel is 15 and comes home and decides he wants to smoke, that's fine. It's not, but you're not going to smoke in my house. You can step out, and I'm going to go over all these reasons why you shouldn't do it, and in a positive way, and I'm going to give him reinforcement. But at the end of the day, I can tell him he's not going to smoke all day long, but at 15, if he's like I was, he's going to do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to create a wedge between us, right? So at some point, I want my sons to start making their own decisions. So I think with a daughter, I would try to be as equal as possible to do the same thing, but I don't think that means it is going to be hard. I don't think you do it at 8, 9, 10. I don't see that. Like it's just really hard. It's a weird thing for me, but so
my brother did a great job with his daughter.
I have a daughter.
But daddy's girl, right?
Yeah.
It's just
I kind of,
no
but I
end
see
to
that's the
it.
other
But
side of this.
I don't spoil her though. Like she's a good kid.
Yeah.
And she's only 4, but she's very intelligent for 4. And
I'm just afraid I'd have to kill half the
Very
population.
well
I don't know,
once
man.
you turn
I was
15,
such a little
man.
shit too. I was such a little shit that I worry about that a little bit, like a little bit of the karma coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still a little shit, honestly. Like,
I wasn't a little
there's
shit until I got out of high school. Then I became a real little shit.
Oh yeah,
I'm very protective, but
Oh,
I'm an
yeah.
old dad too, But she's
What I kind of think, I hope maybe my youngest son and they need to have life first, but maybe we'll work our way in the family one way or another.
they're both really good kids.
We got good morals. Yeah, we'll figure this out.
Isn't it crazy how and it was all new for me, when I started watching him and stuff like that, take care of him. I get him every other weekend. It's like
That's cool though.
divorced or something.
Yeah.
I got to ask you something
But
off camera. We got to remind me to come back to this. But go ahead. That's
no,
cool. Every other weekend, go ahead.
But the crazy thing is, like, when you're suddenly a dad, foster dad, or whatever kind of dad you would call me, like the things that cross your mind, or like when they're doing stuff, like suddenly you're so much more attuned.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's, and I don't want him to know that I'm worried about him when he goes to the bathroom, but I'm worried about him when he goes to the bathroom. Like he takes off the bathroom, like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. And then the entire time, like, I'll be watching the bathroom door wondering who's going up in there.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm like, and I can't believe I think that way.
It's good that you
But
do,
I'm
though.
just like,
Yeah, it's good that you do.
That's one thing I never understood about parenting before I was a parent, is I always wanted to be a parent, and I always thought it was a cool thing.
see, I never did.
It's cool to
crazy.
to see the relationship between my friends and their kids.
Yeah.
But then when I became a parent, I was like, oh, okay, you can't prepare for this feeling,
Yeah.
or it's like you realize that your whole life you're going to be in this, you're going to have this existential worry all the time,
100%.
forever, because you love this human being so much.
Yeah.
It was just a part of you. It's part of you, and
It kind of sucks sometimes.
yeah, yeah, but it does suck sometimes, but it's always worth it.
It is.
More than worth it, because you do anything for them.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, too, when you realize that. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
I just, basically just shut off all these things. Normally, I'd be like, nah, I ain't leaving this.
Right.
Because the boy needed one thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoa.
I turned down a trip to. This is normal for me, but I don't like to make commitments anyway. I don't like to commit to travel plans because my world's in chaos state all the time. There's something always going on in business. Something always changes. If I make a commitment, 100% guarantee that I'm going to go. Sure enough, I'm not going to be able to go, and I'm going to look like a dick.
Yeah.
But I was supposed to go to Vegas today. I was with a business partner and a family member or two that are involved in that business. And I canceled last night, which I never fully committed to it. But my youngest son, he's doing Taekwondo for like a year, and because of the age bracket, didn't even have a uniform. And then he earned his uniform, but you didn't get your white belt. Mm-hmm. Well, then he had to go through a certain amount of time and things, and then he earns his white belt. I really like this, that you don't just get given these things, right? You have to earn everything. So he's 4, and he gets his white belt. He'll be 5 in May. He gets his white belt today. So I canceled the Vegas trip to go to the white belt thing, right? Because, like, legitimately, I was just going to finish up, do my thing. There's 1 or 2 other reasons, but this is 99%. I could have moved everything else around. I was going to finish up today. I was going to hop a plane. I was going to go to Vegas for the weekend. And instead, I've got some other things I'm going to do as well, but instead I'm doing the white belt today at 5 o'clock.
Right.
Right,
That's like his
just way
biggest
more
achievement
important,
so
Yeah,
far.
he told me the other day, he was so excited, and this is what did it for me. He's like, I worked so hard for this. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, buddy, you did. And I'm sitting here like, it means something to him, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you just said, though, man. It's like you just,
It's
and
weird.
I don't always do it, but like something like that, it's like, okay, hit you right in the feels.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something he really worked for too.
Yeah, he
for
did.
a while.
He did.
Yeah.
He's a little A little baller, man. It's funny.
Well, they'll remember when you're not there for things.
Oh, 100%.
I'm sure.
And they may never say anything to you about it, but they'll remember.
Oh, yeah.
And and this is scary, but they'll try to compensate for that with other people.
Yeah.
And then suddenly
Right.
you'll turn. I don't know this, but I've witnessed it, and I've experienced some of it where, even after a while, if Dad don't show up for this, that, and the other, then you're going to stop expecting him to be there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what kind of situation is that?
Yeah.
That sucks.
I agree.
Well, that's going to carry on too, probably.
Yep.
Right.
That's another problem.
Yep. Yeah,
But,
I agree.
We need to wrap this thing up, guys.
Yeah, I didn't realize how comfortable these things would get.
Hey,
I was looking
man.
at the other ones, and they're like an hour and a half long. It's like, what the hell are we going to talk about for an hour and a half?
Oh, bro, man. This was like, we could, if we didn't have to, we could go again.
Yeah.
I got to pee.
We're rapping. We're
Well,
rapping.
how can people follow you? Do you have a website or social media?
Well, on Facebook, Matthew B. Moore on Facebook, and then TSH Matthew on Instagram. But everything on my Facebook's linked to my Facebook. But King Coyote Production Lighting is my business website.
Okay.
I don't have anything else outside of that. I
Yeah.
mean, you can find it all on Facebook.
Do you have a
Fair
YouTube channel also?
If you go to my Matthew B. Moore, you can find Matthew B. Moore Filmmaker. I put
Okay.
all of the things
All the
on
links.
that just to have them all in one place. And
Yeah.
the crazy thing is, there's 4 of them I can't find,
Oh,
and there's 3 of them on a drive that I have to get rescued because it's so old. Like it's a 100 gig drive from 2003.
Wow.
And
wow.
there's like 3-4 projects on there.
nice.
Or like Tracy and I's first project, he did a Pan for Punks where he's playing Ramones songs. The video we made, we exported it and it had to be at a certain size back in 2006 or some shit like that, and it looks horrible. And neither one of us can find the export because it's just so long ago.
Yeah.
And then I even had to do all this miraculous crap to get a couple of them because QuickTime's not recognizing that QuickTime from back then.
That's
Right, yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, and like media encoders, like, are you crazy, bro? What is this? What did you build this with sticks and stones?
That's funny.
What is this, SD? God, what a bitch!
Yeah.
Standard definition.
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure having
It's
you
been
on,
a
man.
pleasure being.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for having me.
Let us know when you have another project coming up, and we'll bring you back on to promote it.
Okay,
And,
we'll see what happens. I mean,
yeah.
I'll tell you if the Fast Society kicks off.
Yeah.
then
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I'd try to maybe have one of those guys over
Yeah.
here.
Absolutely, cool.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
But you guys need to look up Tracy.
Definitely.
Tracy Thornton.
We will, yeah.
He's making it happen.
Let's do it.
Well, if you guys enjoyed the episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Later, guys.
Thanks.